Masao spends another ordinary day alone in his room, believing everything is normal while enjoying private entertainment after living there for many years. Finishing the moment, Masao suddenly regains awareness inside an unfamiliar place, confused because his final memory revolves around his solitary activity at home. Goddess Ada Ruto appears before Masao, calmly revealing that his embarrassing accident caused his death after breaking through the floor in terrible fashion. Embarrassed yet resigned, Masao admits he would rather have died comfortably, while Ada Ruto remarks that even she found his bizarre end astonishing. Ada Ruto explains Masao died before experiencing romance, calling him an unfortunate virgin whose life ended without knowing love before reincarnation begins soon. Masao boldly asks Goddess Ada Ruto to free him from dying a virgin, but she teases his inexperience, rejects the outrageous request, then decides another world offers him a better opportunity. Ada Ruto opens a radiant portal and wishes Masao a fulfilling new life, encouraging him to enjoy the adventure awaiting beyond the heavenly realm. She explains that his reincarnation grants another chance to pursue romance while blessing him with the ability to understand the language spoken there before departure. Ada Ruto prepares one final farewell gift, surprising Masao with another mysterious blessing that leaves him overwhelmed. Before sending him onward, Masao screams as brilliant light engulfs him, awakening moments later inside a dense forest, where his unexpected second life finally begins. Masao regains consciousness beneath heavy rain, unable to move or understand his tiny body as darkness, cold, and helpless cries surround his strange awakening. Confusion overwhelms him while he wonders why reincarnation left him as a helpless infant, regretting his ridiculous death before realizing his cries sound exactly like a baby. Nearby villagers hear the crying and discover an abandoned infant hidden inside the forest, immediately suspecting someone heartlessly left the child behind during the storm. A hooded woman gently lifts the baby, while Masao finally realizes he has truly reincarnated as an abandoned newborn and silently thanks Ada Ruto for her blessing. The woman finds a rain-soaked letter requesting the child be raised with care, learning his name is Sao before carrying him safely away from the forest. Carrying the rescued infant home, the gentle woman comforts Sao, warmly accepting his new name, while promising he will never be left alone again. She carefully bathes and feeds Sao, whose newborn instincts slowly accept the care, allowing him to regain strength after surviving the cold forest. Several days pass as Sao's blurry vision gradually improves, and the woman's constant kindness convinces him she has become his loving new mother. Once his eyesight clears, Sao finally sees her face and is stunned by her breathtaking beauty, realizing the woman raising him is far more beautiful than he imagined. Months pass peacefully as she continues caring for Sao with endless affection, while he gratefully embraces his comfortable new life under her devoted protection. Sao eagerly drinks the milk offered by his adoptive mother, discovering that his infant body reacts naturally while she smiles, relieved to see his healthy appetite. Although embarrassed by lingering memories from his previous life, Sao pushes those thoughts aside, reminding himself that the woman caring for him deserves only gratitude and respect. His strong appetite surprises her, yet she gently comforts Sao and continues feeding him, believing the growing child simply needs plenty of nourishment every day. Sao feeds with remarkable enthusiasm until his adoptive mother laughs warmly, teasing that his vigorous appetite has restored her energy despite leaving her slightly exhausted. Later, the woman carries Sao through the village while wondering whether she can successfully raise two children, determined to protect both despite the challenges ahead. Sao meets the friendly villagers who warmly welcome him, while Machedo gratefully promises to repay everyone for protecting and caring for the abandoned child. The peaceful moment ends when a gigantic wild boar suddenly charges into the village, forcing everyone to recognize the terrifying monster threatening their homes. Watching the enormous beast in disbelief, Sao learns the creature is a dangerous subjugation monster whose defeat would earn the villagers a valuable reward. Without hesitation, the villagers unite and launch a desperate attack against the massive boar, risking their lives to defend the village from destruction. That night, Sao reflects on the terrifying battle, realizing he now lives in a dangerous world where monsters roam the forests and survival depends on the courage of ordinary people. Sao grows up in a village where open affection between couples is common, and nightly sounds from neighboring homes make him realize how different this world is from his previous life. Watching villagers live freely while Machedo works, Sao concludes the community treats romance naturally, strengthening his determination to reach adulthood someday. As years pass, Sao views the village as peaceful and welcoming, appreciating the people who raised him despite their relaxed attitudes toward relationships. Filled with excitement, Sao imagines the future before the story skips ahead, revealing that 7 years pass. Now older, Sao happily greets his caring mother with a warm embrace, showing their close bond as he begins the next chapter of childhood. Sao happily clings to Machedo, cherishing the warmth of his adoptive mother, while innocent childhood affection continues to strengthen the bond they have shared for years. Machedo reminds Sao that he has reached the age for the job calling ritual, explaining it marks his first important step toward adulthood and future responsibilities. Although excited about becoming an adult, Sao secretly wishes Machedo would continue spoiling him, while learning every person receives a unique ability through the ceremony. On the way, Sao discovers that every profession in this world serves an important purpose, from warriors and scholars to priests and skilled craftsmen. Accepting whatever destiny awaits, Sao follows Machedo to the village church, where the priest prepares to begin the long-awaited job calling ritual. Sao enters the church with Machedo, where the villagers warmly greet him and eagerly wonder which job he will receive during the important ceremony. The adults share their hopes for Sao's future, explaining that every profession becomes valuable through effort, dedication, and constant improvement rather than talent alone. Listening carefully, Sao learns some jobs can even lead to serving nobles or the royal capital, making him realize this world's abilities shape each person's destiny. Machedo hugs Sao tightly before the ceremony begins, admitting she would miss him if his future carried him far beyond their peaceful village. Encouraged by Machedo's words, Sao steps before the priest, remembering Ada Ruto's mysterious promise as the long-awaited job calling ritual finally begins. Kneeling before the priest, Sao receives God's revelation through the job calling ritual, anxiously waiting to learn the special ability that will shape his future. The priest announces Sao's job as Rod Master, leaving both him and the gathered villagers completely stunned by the unfamiliar title. Sao immediately suspects the job's meaning relates to something embarrassing, silently panicking while wondering how he could possibly explain such an unusual blessing. Confused villagers question the strange occupation, because none of them has ever heard of a Rod Master, leaving the ceremony filled with uncertainty instead of celebration. After realizing nobody understands the true meaning behind the title, Sao quietly accepts the mysterious job, believing it must be the special gift Ada Ruto promised him. Although nobody understands the meaning of Rod Master, the villagers warmly congratulate Sao, believing every blessing from God will eventually reveal its true purpose. Machedo gently calms everyone's worries, reminding them that Sao's happiness matters far more than any job, touching him with her unconditional love and support. The village chief agrees with Machedo, explaining that every God-given job exists to help people prosper before encouraging everyone to celebrate Sao's important milestone together. Surrounded by smiling villagers, Sao gratefully thanks Machedo and everyone who raised him, realizing he has found a family that accepts him without hesitation. Even while appreciating their kindness, Sao quietly resolves to master his mysterious job, convinced it holds the key to fulfilling the dream that carried over from his previous life. Sao strengthens his resolve after receiving the Rod Master job, vowing to make full use of his new blessing and achieve every dream he carried into this world. Imagining the future ahead, Sao enthusiastically pictures himself spreading happiness throughout the new world, embracing the destiny he believes was meant specifically for him. Despite lingering worries about his unusual job, Sao notices the villagers still smiling with encouragement, giving him confidence that their support will never disappear. Soon afterward, another village child mocks Sao's mysterious occupation while proudly boasting about becoming a knight, hoping to embarrass him before everyone else. Machedo immediately steps in to correct the rude behavior, reminding Kalipa that true strength begins with kindness, humility, and setting a proper example for younger children. Sao realizes Kalipa is his stepbrother in this world, but keeps the secret to himself, while quietly watching the boy's stubborn personality and constant complaints. Unable to stay silent, Sao accidentally reveals how closely Machedo cared for him during infancy, leaving Kalipa speechless while Machedo quickly scolds both boys before the argument grows. Dreaming of becoming a knight and serving a noble, Kalipa proudly boasts about his future. But Machedo reminds him that true warriors need humility before earning honor. Kalipa eagerly demands knightly equipment, insisting every knight needs proper weapons. Yet Machedo firmly refuses because he is still far too young to carry them. Sao watches the exchange unfold with amusement, while Machedo patiently explains that every child will receive proper equipment only after growing older and proving ready. Sao notices Machedo looking exhausted after a busy day and kindly offers to massage her shoulders, earning heartfelt gratitude for always thinking about her well-being. While gently massaging her, Sao listens as Machedo explains why children should never handle weapons, since excitement alone cannot replace maturity or responsibility. Machedo further teaches that jobs grant extraordinary strength, allowing skilled people to wield powerful equipment beyond what ordinary children could safely control. She describes how experienced knights can cut through rocks and trees with ease, warning that such overwhelming power could seriously harm innocent people if misused. Sao quietly accepts her lesson while continuing the massage. Realizing this world's incredible abilities demand discipline, responsibility, and wisdom, alongside the strength granted by every job. While continuing Machedo's massage, Sao suddenly senses a mysterious power awakening within him, realizing his unusual job may have activated for the very first time. Sao identifies the new ability as God Hand, suspecting it is a unique skill granted by his Rodmaster job rather than ordinary physical talent. Amazed by the unexpected result, Sao quietly celebrates discovering his first special ability, convinced his mysterious job possesses hidden potential beyond everyone's expectations. Machedo notices the unusual atmosphere, but simply assumes Sao is growing both physically and mentally, unaware that his job has just awakened a new power. After finishing the massage, Machedo praises Sao's maturity and encourages him to keep improving, while he secretly worries about the incredible ability that unexpectedly revealed itself. Machedo explains that every job eventually guides its owner through instinct and experience, encouraging Sao to trust the mysterious path his unprecedented Rodmaster ability will reveal. Reflecting on her advice, Sao wonders what equipment or tools might suit his unusual job, deciding that understanding its nature will require patience and careful observation. Curious about his newly awakened power, Sao quietly experiments with the strange sensation flowing through his body, hoping to uncover another clue about his hidden abilities. Before he can investigate further, Machedo asks Sao to help prepare dinner, and he immediately sets aside his thoughts to assist with the household chores. While handling a simple kitchen task, Sao suddenly triggers his mysterious ability again, leaving him stunned as another unexpected aspect of Rodmaster's power begins to reveal itself. Early the next morning, Kalipa barges into Sao's room and loudly declares that Sao must become his personal retainer, leaving the sleepy boy completely bewildered. While bragging about his future as a knight, Kalipa notices the strange object Sao is carrying and immediately assumes it must be a special tool for his mysterious job. Sao explains that the object is only Machedo's kitchen pestle, yet it stubbornly refuses to leave his hand, making the situation even more confusing. Ignoring Sao's protests, Kalipa drags him toward his favorite place, laughing at the awkward sight, while Sao struggles with the pestle still attached to him. Reaching the forest, Kalipa eagerly announces a monster hunt, but Sao quickly points out they are only chasing ordinary wild rabbits instead of dangerous beasts. Sao quietly endures Kalipa's endless boasting, recalling how the three of them have lived together for years, while accepting his loud stepbrother's stubborn personality. Eager to prove himself, Kalipa marches deeper into the forest searching for prey, while Sao warns that all the shouting has already frightened every nearby animal away. After wandering much farther, the boys still fail to find even a single rabbit, leaving Sao increasingly uneasy as the forest grows strangely silent around them. Kalipa stubbornly continues calling for monsters, but Sao senses something is wrong and suggests returning before they wander any deeper into unfamiliar territory. Just as they prepare to leave, both boys suddenly freeze after noticing an unexpected presence nearby. realizing something in the forest has caught their attention first. Sao and Calipa freeze in terror as a gigantic demonic bear emerges from the forest, its overwhelming size and ferocious roar proving they have wandered into deadly territory. Remembering the villagers' warnings, Sao realizes the creature is the feared devil bear and desperately urges Calipa to retreat before the monster notices them completely. When Calipa panics and stumbles, Sao immediately throws himself forward, dragging his stepbrother away from the charging beast, despite the terrifying danger closing behind them. Clinging to Sao in fear, Calipa breaks into tears and admits he does not want to die, abandoning his earlier arrogance as the desperate escape continues. Refusing to leave Calipa behind, Sao keeps protecting his frightened stepbrother, determined to find any chance of survival against the monstrous devil bear. As the devil bear closes in, Sao desperately shields Calipa, refusing to abandon his terrified stepbrother, even while believing death is only moments away. Fear overwhelms Sao, yet memories of Macheto's encouragement strengthen his resolve, convincing him that protecting Calipa matters more than escaping alone. In the desperate struggle, Sao suddenly feels his mysterious Rodmaster power react again, surprising both boys as an unexpected force erupts at the critical moment. The kitchen pestle attached to Sao's ability flies forward with tremendous force, smashing into the charging devil bear and knocking the massive beast violently away from them. Staring at the unbelievable scene, Sao realizes his ordinary pestle has become a powerful weapon through Rodmaster's ability, giving the brothers a precious chance to survive. The transformed pestle stretches across the battlefield and slams into the devil bear, forcing the massive beast backward with overwhelming impact before it can attack again. Holding Calipa close, Sao realizes the flying weapon is actually the same kitchen pestle he carried, leaving both brothers stunned by the impossible transformation. Remembering Macheto's lesson about suitable gear, Sao discovers the pestle has become as hard as steel and grown into a gigantic weapon through Rodmaster's power. As the enraged devil bear prepares another charge, Sao positions Calipa behind him and raises the enormous hardened pestle to protect them from the monster. Recognizing the pestle as his suitable equipment, Sao concludes that Rodmaster can awaken extraordinary power through compatible tools, giving him hope against the devil bear. Sao swings the gigantic hardened pestle with all his strength, but the overwhelming weight slows his movements while the devil bear withstands the attack and continues advancing. Refusing to surrender, Sao apologizes to Calipa for bringing him into danger and keeps striking the devil bear, determined to survive until he can fulfill his dreams. After repeated blows, the devil bear finally retreats deeper into the forest, leaving Sao exhausted and barely able to keep holding the massive pestle. Believing the immediate danger has passed, Sao checks on Calipa, admits his own fear, and reminds his younger brother never to enter the dangerous forest again. Calipa quietly listens as Sao reaches out to comfort him, realizing how close they came to tragedy and how much their reckless decision worried everyone. While changing Calipa's clothes, Sao notices something unexpected, leaving both brothers confused as they realize the frightened child does not have the body they assumed. The surprising discovery leaves Sao speechless while his thoughts race as he struggles to understand the strange situation before him. Sao realizes Calipa is biologically female, and the revelation completely overturns everything he believed about the younger sibling he had known until now. After discovering Calipa is actually a girl, while Calipa desperately insists she always believed herself to be a man despite every assumption, embarrassment quickly replaces the confusion as Sao apologizes for removing her pants, realizing everyone had mistaken Calipa's identity throughout her entire childhood. Recalling their visits to the public bathhouse, Sao gently asks whether Calipa truly wishes to continue living as a man, despite being born female. Tears stream down Calipa's face as she reveals that nobody acknowledges female knights, forcing her to hide behind a man's identity to chase her dream. Instead of accepting the story, Sao suspects jealous villagers deceived Calipa, helping her recognize the painful lie that shaped her life before offering sincere support. Frustration finally erupts as Calipa angrily rejects Sao's words, convinced that chasing the dream of becoming a knight has become completely meaningless. Watching her despair, Sao realizes Calipa's determination remains unshaken beneath her pride, even though she believes no woman could ever become a knight. Rather than laughing, Sao praises the idea of a female knight, and teases Kalipa's embarrassed reaction, slowly easing the heavy burden weighing on her heart. His encouragement grows stronger as Sao promises to support Kalipa's dream, believing the world's traditions should never decide what she is capable of achieving. Filled with renewed confidence, Sao boldly challenges Kalipa to become a true female knight, leaving her flustered while giving her the courage to move forward. Relief replaces Kalipa's despair as she thanks Seo, then shyly reveals she also carries a dream, leaving him eager to hear the answer. Although Sao refuses to reveal his personal goal, he promises never to let it overshadow Kalipa's ambition, inspiring her to keep pursuing the future she desires. Smiling with renewed determination, Kalipa accepts Sao as her rival, while their playful exchange marks the beginning of a friendship built on shared resolve. Time passes through relentless training as Sao and Kalipa sharpen their skills together, strengthening both their abilities and the trust connecting them over several years. Their close bond eventually grows into a romantic relationship, with both embracing their mutual feelings as they continue supporting each other's dreams and future together. Years after making their promise, Sao and Kalipa grow much closer, combining intense physical training with affectionate moments as they continue encouraging each other's ambitions without losing their playful bond. During their conversation, Sao notices how much stronger and healthier Kalipa has become, prompting a lighthearted exchange that leaves her both embarrassed and amused, blushing from the teasing. Kalipa admits those memories remain difficult to forget, while Sao reassures her that her past no longer defines the person she has become. Holding Kalipa close, Sao reminds her that she already overcame the fears that once controlled her life, giving her even greater confidence to keep moving forward. With several years of training behind them, Sao sincerely declares that Kalipa has everything needed to become an outstanding female knight, filling her with renewed determination for the future. Kalipa proudly declares her determination to become a female knight who can protect the people she loves, while promising Sao she will someday devote herself to him after achieving that dream. As their relationship deepens over the years, Sao and Kalipa spend more private time together, strengthening the trust and affection that have grown alongside their shared ambitions. Hidden within the quiet forest, the couple embraces their feelings for one another, confirming that their bond has matured far beyond simple friendship. Once the intimate moment ends, Kalipa quickly reminds Sao they entered the forest to hunt, shifting their attention back toward the task they originally planned. Preparing for the expedition, Sao explains one of his unusual abilities, while the pair heads deeper into the forest, ready to search for powerful demonic rabbits together. Sao easily defeats a massive demonic deer before Kalipa can react, leaving her amazed that his unusual weapon gives him an overwhelming advantage during every hunt. While carrying their catch home, Kalipa admits Sao has surpassed her in dismantling monsters, and he proudly promises to earn even greater strength through his own efforts. An idea suddenly comes to Kalipa, who suggests a simple training method that could compensate for Sao's long weapon by improving his footwork and movement speed. Rather than delaying the lesson, Sao eagerly agrees to practice immediately, trusting Kalipa's experience and following every instruction she gives without hesitation. To test his reflexes, Kalipa catches Sao off guard with a sudden kiss, proving that even a skilled fighter can still be vulnerable to unexpected attacks. Caught completely off guard, Sao realizes Kalipa's sudden kiss was part of her lesson, while she proudly teases him for falling into such a simple surprise attack. After sharing their feelings openly, Kalipa admits she wants to stay by Sao's side forever, and the couple happily decides to visit the forest together every day. Their affectionate relationship continues to deepen as Sao notices Kalipa becoming more mature, while she blushes at his attention despite secretly enjoying every moment together. Unnoticed by the couple, several mysterious figures silently watch from the darkness, observing their peaceful time together without revealing their intentions. Returning to the village with their hunting rewards, Sao and Kalipa receive warm praise from an elderly woman who happily remarks that Kalipa has grown into a wonderful young lady. While returning home, Sao and Kalipa run into their neighbor Raibo, who warmly invites them for dinner after hearing about Sao's remarkable cooking skills. Without hesitation, Kalipa politely declines the invitation, choosing to spend the evening with Sao and her family instead, leaving Raibo visibly disappointed by the answer. Across the village, Sao's growing reputation attracts constant attention, while Kalipa happily admits their relationship has become even closer than ordinary family bonds. As night falls, the pair finally arrive at their destination together, ending another peaceful day spent hunting, training, and enjoying each other's company. Opening the door, Sao and Kalipa receive a cheerful welcome from a beautiful woman waiting inside, marking the beginning of another warm evening shared with their household. Stepping inside the house, Sao and Kalipa are immediately greeted with concern as their family checks whether the dangerous hunting trip left either of them injured. Kalipa proudly presents the deer they caught, while Okaya smiles with relief after seeing both of them return safely and notices how much her eldest daughter has changed. Gathering around the dinner table, the family enjoys a peaceful meal together as Okaya praises Sao and Kalipa for handling their first hunt successfully. Confidence shines across Kalipa's face as she assures everyone they gave the hunt everything they had, while Sao quietly agrees that their efforts were worthwhile. Watching the pair with pride, Okaba decides they have grown strong enough to become independent, preparing herself to entrust them with greater responsibilities from now on. During dinner, Okaiga unexpectedly asks Sao and Kalipa to accompany her on her next job, catching both of them completely by surprise. Sao recalls how Okabe often left home before sunrise and returned late at night, realizing she had quietly carried the burden of supporting the household alone. Without a moment's hesitation, Sao eagerly accepts the request, despite knowing the work will be difficult, while Kalipa reminds him he promised to spend every day hunting beside her. Seeing Sao's determination, Kalipa decides to join the job as well, teasing him for trying so hard to impress Okaibala while offering her full support. Satisfied with their decision, Okaibala announces they will leave early the following morning, giving the pair little time to prepare for the challenging task ahead. That night, Okaya sends everyone to bed without explaining the job, and the next morning she leads Sao and Kalipa deep into an unfamiliar part of the forest. Before long, the trio encounters a large gathering of villagers, leaving Sao surprised as he realizes this unexpected expedition is far more important than he imagined. Confused by the crowd of stern-looking men, Sao watches Okaya calmly greet everyone, sensing that the intimidating group has been waiting for her arrival. Standing before the assembled villagers, Okaya confidently announces that they will all rely on her efforts today, immediately drawing everyone's complete attention. Unable to understand the situation, Sao and Kalipa stare at Okaya in astonishment, wondering what kind of work is about to begin before the gathered crowd. A thunderous roar erupts from the villagers as they enthusiastically cheer together, revealing their complete trust in Okaya's abilities and raising the tension throughout the gathering. Turning toward the pair, Okaba finally admits she has kept this responsibility hidden from them for many years, describing it as the other important job she always handled. With a serious expression, Okaba reveals her true occupation as a goblin slayer, shocking both Sao and Kalipa with the unexpected truth.
That party hears about a goblin slayer and questions if goblins are genuine or just tales. Doubts and fantasies mix as they recall unusual depictions from books. The others recall childhood warnings, where goblins were used to scare kids from wandering. Still, none of them have seen one. Abruptly, genuine goblins appear feral, snarling, and armed. One savage ambush starts. Screams erupt, chaos spreads. Villagers rally. One man steps forward, set to clash. One goblin lunges from behind, threatening the mother as others watch in terror. With sharp reflexes, she counters the blow with a mighty kick, shocking everyone nearby. While tying her sash, she reflects on her real role, neither healer nor farmer. Calm and composed, she reveals her real calling, gripping an enormous armament with steady hands. In one swift motion she swings, set to strike down the foe. A single motion. She slices through a goblin with overwhelming force, leaving nothing but carnage in her wake. Standing tall, her presence silences the crowd. That others realize she's not just powerful, she's unmatched. As more goblins charge, she intercepts them with precise swings, effortlessly sending them flying. Some recall the aged nickname once murmured in terror, tied to countless fallen foes. Now, she leads the stand. No goblin shall remain. The harsh reality of battle sets in, leaving them stunned as the sight sinks into their minds. Despite her power, the woman feels uneasy, revealing this part of herself to her children. One warning remains shared: the goblins are growing in number and becoming a greater threat to the settlement. Precautions remain necessary. It's better they learn to clash than stay ignorant. Teasing turns into reflection as secrets and motives come to light. Encouraged by her support, The youth steadies himself, vowing to give it his all. Yayat, facing genuine peril, proves harder than expected. The man struggles with the gore and terror. Roan wave of goblins charges forward, overwhelming him with panic and thoughts of escape. Just before disaster, a tree crashes down, saving him. The woman reminds him to stay powerful. Nearby, the girl bravely confronts the foe, surprising even those who once doubted her. They praise Sao's abilities in fight, impressed by his peculiar weapon mastery, regardless of his modesty. Kalipa attempts to expose more of his secrets, teasing him while he scrambles to silence her. He awkwardly hides the reality his first awakened talent was an erotic ability, something he can't admit to his mother. Though unrelated by blood, he keeps secrets, fearing judgment yet longing for approval. Inwardly, he confesses she rescued him and became his first love. Despite his potential, Sao's unique talent falters under stress, shrinking in response to terror and gore. Teased by Calipa, he's both flustered and tempted as she offers to help him recover. Their banter continues until their mother approaches, puzzled by the shrunken pestle in his hands. Mortified, he realizes she's unknowingly examining it, making his discomfort worse. In a sudden burst, the tool enlarges dramatically, causing chaos and confusion for everyone around. Frustrated by doubt, Calipa rushes ahead, resolved to prove herself without help. Their mother swiftly orders Sao to follow her, warning him of the peril she might face alone. Running after her, Sao reflects on his conflicted feelings. He cares profoundly for both Kalipa and his mother. The man finally finds Kalipa, wounded beneath a tree, gripping her armament and trembling in pain. The woman groans in agony, pierced by an arrow, forcing Sao to act swiftly to help her. Kalipa collapses in Sao's arms, coughing and frail. The woman's vision blurs as poison starts to take effect. Panicked and desperate, Sao holds her tightly, shouting her name, unsure of what to do next. The woman fades in and out of consciousness, her tone barely audible as he calls to her in terror. Driven by instinct, he presses close, hoping to save her by any means. From afar, their position looks suspicious, leading others to misunderstand the tense instance. Sao shouts in desperation, resolved to use his force to save Kalipa no matter what. He discovers a fresh healing talent awakened from profound emotion. Conflicted yet resolved, reassured by her recovery, he prepares to clash. But goblins emerge surrounding them. Fueled by rage, he lashes out, defending her while struggling mentally with the violence. One lethal strike from behind cuts down a goblin just in time, saving them both. With a quiet nod, they reaffirm their trust in each other, preparing to face the approaching threat. Surrounded by foes, they engage in a close formation, unconventional, but united. Amid the chaos, he focuses, channeling energy through his unique talent with her support. One burst of force erupts as he launches a rapid, intense offensive. Their synchronized strike overwhelms the goblins, ending the clash in a dramatic finish. Their combined force overwhelms the goblins, leaving a trail of fallen foes in the forest. After the clash, they acknowledge their unusual but effective teamwork, pleased of their bond. Just as they lower their guard, their mother arrives, puzzled by what she sees, caught in the most awkward instant by the one person they dreaded.
In a secluded field, their intimate instant became shattered by an unexpected onlooker, his mother, arriving at the worst possible time. The woman yelled in alarm while he begged for divine intervention. Chaos started closing in. Monstrous hand burst through the trees, snatching his mother away as the two observed helplessly. Determined and frightened, they sprinted into the forest, desperate to save her from the unknown. A swarm of creatures encircled the settlement, and his mother was nowhere in sight. Towering above them, a monstrous goblin gripped the mother captive, mocking their arrival as though they seemed gifts. Recognition hit. This became no ordinary beast. Despite their daring stance, its sinister grin unveiled confidence, certain of its force over them all. Blades clashed with its flesh, but their efforts barely departed a mark against its hardened form. Identified as a rock goblin, even the strongest warrior's axe held failed to wound the creature. Determined to clash, he would not abandon the battlefield, while others unveiled the mother's sacrifice to protect them. A savage strike departed Sao wounded, and Kalipa hurried to his side as horror spread among the villagers. From a distance, the mother observed, bound and powerless. Despite warnings, Kalipa held firm, even with a broken armament and tears in her gaze. Facing despair, she proclaimed her spirit unshaken, set to stand even if hope became fading fast. Without delay, Sao charged forward, launching himself toward the towering creature with reckless force. Goblin reacted too late. Its enormous form jolted as Sao's attack hit with unexpected precision. Shock spread across the battlefield when Sao emerged beside Kalipa. The man's sudden arrival shifted the momentum, surprising allies and foes alike as the clash intensified. The party regrouped, realizing the creature had been wounded and could still be defeated. Kalipa rallied the villagers, reminding them of their goal, protecting their families and home from destruction. Inspired by her courage, the once discouraged fighters remained tall, their morale boosted by her intense determination. Yet the foe displayed no mercy, revealing twisted plans for the women as chaos spread among the villagers. Sal moved ahead, offering himself as bait to protect Calliope. Driven by emotion, he would not abandon her, declaring that her loss would shatter his very thoughts. Sal glared at the scarred goblin, vowing to make him pay for humiliating his mother. That foe unveiled his grotesque markings, claiming invulnerability as proof of his transformation into a rock goblin. After a mighty clash, Calliope and their mother hurried to Sal's side, checking on his safety. Thou injured, he held firm. Their mother begged him to stop, but his quiet reply crushed her. He believed it proved already too late to turn back. Sal, overwhelmed by emotion, confessed that protecting her brought him a sense of goal he couldn't ignore. While Calliope grinned knowingly, their mother silently agreed to his resolve, watching him charge forward once more. That goblin retaliated with full force, aiming to crush Sal's courage and end his defiance. Wounded and drained, Sal hesitated as the enormous club loomed above him with crushing weight. But just in time, Calliope and another stepped in, shielding him from the lethal blow. Calliope and their mother joked with Sal, pushing him to stand tall and regain his composure. Refusing to back down, they accompanied him at the front, bracing the armament together as one. With their support, Sal summoned power from profound within and shattered the foe's armament in a burst of force. That goblin recoiled, stunned by the force erupting from the trio's combined wood. Overwhelmed, the foe faltered as Sal ridiculed him, confident and unyielding in the face of evil. That goblin reeled as Sal's explosive force cracked the ground and sent shockwaves through the battlefield. Thrown into the air, the beast flailed in astonishment, incapable of comprehend the force behind such a small weapon. Proclaimed that even the toughest form would break from such a fall. With fury and power, he met the descending goblin head-on with a devastating counter. Sal roared the name of his ultimate move, Erection Hammer, as the goblin horde observed in shock. That impact of Sal's finishing strike crushed the ground, shaking the battlefield with explosive force. Villagers erupted in cheers, their morale reignited as they witnessed the impossible unfold before them. With the goblin leader defeated, hope surged through the defenders as they readied to finish the clash. Sal remained victorious but exhausted, barely able to respond as his mother commended his courage. Overwhelmed with emotion, he collapsed into her arms, reassured that it proved finally over.
Sal opened his gaze to find his sister's tearful face hovering over him. Calling his name in panic, pain surged through his form. The man had collapsed after an intense clash with a rock goblin and now lay bedridden. Relief washed over her as he apologized. The woman softly scolded him for being reckless, blushing. She leaned closer and inquired a daring question. The woman confessed she just desired to help using his unique recovery ability. Faced with her direct offer, Sal hesitated, knowing the risks but unwilling to waste the instant. With sudden resolve, he proclaimed his intent, placing his trust in her entirely. Their momentum shattered as someone stepped into his mother, witnessing the circumstance unfold. Apologetically, she confessed to revealing the details of Sal's unique condition under pressure. Now exposed, their mystery, feelings, and the reality behind his ability were fully known. Sal panicked as the circumstance spiraled out of control, far from what he ever anticipated. Dread filled the air. The man dreaded he'd destroyed all trust, assuming anger would follow. Instead, her gestures stunned him comfort, mingled with profound confusion. Faced with his guilt, she countered with a firm challenge, rejecting his self-blame. Looking into his gaze, she offered acceptance and warmth, disarming his fears entirely. The man had dreaded expressing his real feelings would break their bond, but her reassurance eased his doubt. Relief washed over him as he recognized they had agreed to everything. His days of peace remained intact. That peace became short-lived as overwhelming tension took a physical toll on his weakened form. The man's sudden reaction triggered panic, reopening wounds they had worked hard to treat. Chaos trailed as both women hurried to stabilize him, trying unconventional methods to stop the bleeding. As Sal started to recover, questions arose about how his healing talent became triggered and why it hadn't worked earlier. Tension shifted to playful teasing, as hidden thoughts seemed laid bare and embarrassment spread among them. Though hesitant, he jokingly voiced a wild wish, surprising them both. Amid awkwardness and chaos, his condition surged with energy, drawing curious concern. Ultimately, they embraced warmly, reassured by his recovery and unshaken bond. Sal reflected on his fortune, encircled by two women who genuinely agreed to and cared for him. Elsewhere, an elder took notice of the goblin slaying incident occurring within his domain. Over tea, he discussed the unknown heroes, suggesting they might serve a fresh goal. One youthful noble girl expressed her excitement, eager to meet the mysterious warriors in person. After defeating the goblins, Sao and Calipa barely catch their breath before orcs begin attacking again. Sao's recent fame draws notice from older women and public bath admirers, fueling his local popularity. While walking home, the pair notice an expensive carriage halted outside. One nobleman reveals himself as the regional lord, formally greeting the heroes with recognition and curiosity. That lord, familiar with Sao's family, kindly acknowledges their history before inquiring about the motive for visiting. That nobleman reveals his motive for visiting: he's seeking a personal guard to protect his daughter. Explaining the tradition, he notes that noble children must attend a distant capital school at a certain age. Among those required to leave remains his only daughter, Sutafu, who would be gone for several years. Concerned for her safety, the emotional father pleads for help, cherishing her as his greatest treasure. Choosing someone her age, he subtly hints at Sao, impressed by his past bravery against goblins nearby. That lord emphasizes that the guard must protect his daughter during every activity, no matter how private. Sao imagines the implications: bathing, sleeping, even using the toilet, and starts to misunderstand the job's intent. Despite the peculiar demands, the noble earnestly pleads for help. To Sao's surprise, the role isn't for him. Calipa remains the one being considered for the position. Acknowledging her past deeds, the lord offers Calipa the guard post with the opportunity to study as well. Calipa silently reflects on the offer, wondering if she's truly about to become a knight. She's conflicted by the considered of leaving behind the settlement and those close to her. Sao realizes they might part ways if she accepts, the considered leaving him unsettled and silent. Before she answers, her mother steps in, asking if a condition might be added to the offer. The woman boldly suggests that Sao be hired too, proposing they take on the guard role together. Calipa's mother defends their teamwork, insisting 2 guards remain necessary for round-the-clock protection duties. The woman reveals her deeper motive to give her son a broader view of the world beyond the settlement. Firmly, she states that unless both are agreed to, they must decline. That noble unwillingly agrees, impressed by her resolve, and formally accepts both for the guard position. As the carriage departs, Sao and Calipa react with shock, questioning the sudden decision made for them. Their mother softly declares this decision as her last selfish wish for them to leave together. She agreed to the noble's request since she desired them to see the world for themselves. Noticing their hesitation, she points out their reluctance to be apart, urging them to stay united. Sao admits he would feel lonely, confessing he doesn't want to be departed behind. With quiet resolve, he agrees to go, placing his trust in her guidance and decision. Calipa reflects on how Sao always attempts to meet their mother's expectations without delay. With a cheerful smile, he says he wants to witness her growth into a real knight. The man's words catch her off guard, but they plainly touch her spirit as she softly says his name, laughing together. Calipa agrees to prove her power and show him her pleased, heroic self, assuring they'll shine wherever they go if they don't slack on guard duty. As emotions swell, Sao abruptly reaches out, acting on feelings he'd long kept to himself. Calipa, astonished by his boldness, silently admits she shares the identical feelings profound inside. Their mother, watching with gentle amusement, welcomes their affection in an instant of warmth and closeness, silently justifying her actions, her expression softening with quiet acceptance, expressing gratitude for everything she's done and for believing in their path. Their mother, smiling softly, brushes off the sentiment and urges them to celebrate instead of getting emotional. Later, playful teasing and quiet affection pass between them, lingering from their close bond and parting tension. Sao and Calipa wave farewell to their settlement and begin their journey together. As they walk, Calipa admits she'll be fine, as long as Sao remains by her side. With Sao curious about their future ally and Calipa keeping his thoughts in check. In a quiet chamber, Sutafu patiently waited alone, unaware her fresh guard seemed already en route. Sao and his ally reached at a huge estate, astonished by its grand scale. The others remained at the gate, realizing this was the Lord's mansion. One woman approached from inside, revealing she had been expecting their visit. That landlord greeted them formally, mentioning his daughter and expressing his trust in them as her protectors. The man hinted at the daughter's mighty heritage, referencing her mother's fearsome past. Without delay, he led them inside to meet her. Inside the grand chamber, maids welcomed them and offered to handle their luggage with care. While ascending the stairs, the landlord commended his daughter's talents and beauty, confident in her future. As they climbed higher, fatigue started to show, partly due to his endless admiration for her. Arriving at the entrance, he announced their presence with pride, calling softly for his daughter. The woman awaited them inside, composed and graceful, offering tea with a warm, composed demeanor. That pair seemed instantly captivated by the girl's elegance, stunned by her charm and beauty. While she remained poised, the
The chamber around her bustled with activity as maids hurried about. The woman clarified her preparations for the capital, overwhelmed by the sheer number of items she required. Startled by the sudden conversation, she unveiled her absent-mindedness. Barely realizing her guests held reached. With a respectful bow, the two introduced themselves as her assigned protectors from a roomy village. Sao introduced himself assuredly, while Calliope stumbled over her words during her turn. Delighted, the girl's gaze sparkled with excitement as she repeated their names joyfully. Grasping their hands, she expressed gratitude, thrilled to be guarded by such reliable people. The woman shared her hopes of friendship, touched by their presence and warmth. Formally introducing herself, she listened curiously to their job descriptions, reacting as though hearing magic. Sutafu silently confessed that her priest role wasn't suited for battle, admiring their power. That landlord reassured her, reminding her that every role gripped its own value and meaning. With full confidence, Sao and Calliope promised to protect her, boldly accepting their duty. Impressed by Sao's build, Sutafu admired his muscles and commended his power against goblins. Curious, she compared their arms, astonished by the overwhelming difference in size and upbringing. In an unexpected instant, Sao found himself awkwardly pressed against Sutafu, flustered and speechless. Realizing the peril of misinterpretation, he covered his panic with a poor excuse about a bug trying to shift focus. Calliope offered to help with the packing, flexing assuredly. Sutafu insisted they relax, softly scolding Calliope for making more work than required. With sincerity, she expressed her desire to know them better. Embracing their fresh bond, requested a teacup for Calliope. Although it concluded with more tasks for the maids, she kindly invited Sao to join, which he gladly agreed to with surprise and joy. Before he could sit, the landlord handed him the task of moving luggage outside. Though reluctant, Sao defended his muscles as being for Sutefu's sake, not just for show. Carrying several trunks, he justified it as both service and the opportunity to work out. While moving boxes, Sao accidentally lifted a maid, mistaking her for more luggage. At the table, Calliope and Sutafu chuckled together, their light-hearted talk filling the chamber. Invited to join, Sao politely declined, choosing to let them enjoy their instant. Suitcases ready and spirits high, Sutafu held firm, ready to begin her new journey. Holding her father's hands, she promised to study hard and return in good health. Tears shimmered as she promised to stay in touch and reach out whenever required. As the entrance closed, he offered a long string of fatherly advice without pause. Inside the carriage, the three settled in while a hand waved goodbye through the glass. Their journey started, escorted by guards, with Sutafu declaring her determination to succeed. Trust placed in her guards, she expressed hope they'd protect and support each other. Inside the carriage, Sutafu expressed interest in learning something vital without delay. Sao and Calliope offered to help, assuming she meant knowledge about ordinary life. To their surprise, she boldly inquired to understand something far more intimate. During the journey, the noble girl startled everyone with an unexpected and blunt request. The woman clarified that mastering such knowledge was essential for her future role in managing the family business. Confidently, she chose her two allies, pointing out their reliability and experience as the motive. One responded with an awkward laugh, taken by surprise by the circumstance. Confusion turned to alarm as the man recognized these talks had been happening behind closed doors. At a tea party, an innocent gathering turned surprisingly awkward as the discussion veered into unfamiliar territory. Initially, she reacted with confusion and disbelief, plainly unprepared for such topics being brought up during such a refined setting. With wide gaze, she wondered what she considered she understood about the world, revealing a childlike innocence. Reflecting on her sheltered upbringing, she recognized her father held kept vital knowledge from her. Driven by frustration and curiosity, she leaned in closer. Inside the moving carriage, tensions rose as the youthful man panicked over the girl's loud insistence, aware that guards and the coachman could overhear. Visions of punishment filled his thoughts, fearing the Lord's wrath if the circumstance escalated. Yet her unwavering gaze, filled with raw curiosity, made it difficult to refuse her plea. Reluctantly, he consented, realizing resistance became pointless. With resolve, he moved ahead, ready to fulfill her bold request. When inquired for consent, the girl eagerly consented. But one ally voiced her protest, plainly overwhelmed. Responsibility shifted as blame circled, with reluctant acceptance forming under the weight of expectations. Pushing past embarrassment, the woman took initiative, preparing herself for the demonstration regardless of discomfort. The noble girl's stunned reaction unveiled her innocence, as the circumstance escalated before her gaze. Faced with unfamiliar anatomy, she inquired in awe, receiving an honest, blunt explanation in return. Curiosity filled the girl's gaze, as she examined what she'd only overheard about in theory. When inquired about past exposure, She clarified that her upbringing kept her shielded. Realization dawned she became encountering this instant for the first time. Everyone present grew more tense. Surprise hit as she witnessed an instant of close, unfamiliar intimacy between the others. She silently processed what was unfolding, trying to understand a concept once foreign, now genuine before her gaze. Faced with an innocent question, the youthful woman hesitated, overwhelmed by the pressure of explaining something so personal. Meanwhile, the noble girl struggled to process her emotions, visibly flustered by what she held witnessed. The woman's reaction swiftly turned into physical distress, alarming those around her. That intensity of the experience seemed too much for her sheltered background, raising concern. Confusion lingered as she attempted to understand actions and phrases far beyond her current knowledge. That noble girl rested in silence, visibly overwhelmed yet profoundly impressed by what she had just experienced. Though the others assumed the lesson became over, she silently signaled that her curiosity remained unsatisfied. Taking initiative, she prepared herself for what she believed became the next step in her education. The woman's boldness stunned them, realizing they'd awakened something unexpected within her.
Faced with a daring request, the man recoiled, insisting it proved beyond acceptable limits. Grave consequences loomed as an elder's grim reminder cast a shadow over the discussion, stressing restraint. Yet her unwavering stare pierced through hesitation, revealing youthful intensity driven by unspoken longing. Acknowledging her determination, he unwillingly consented to instruct her, although not without a stipulation. With a serious tone, he laid down one rule: any outburst would bring everything to an end. Their lesson started under strict silence, with all parties seated and expectations clear. Though the rules seemed harsh, the man clarified the method, resolved to make her quit voluntarily. The woman responded with fiery determination, vowing to engage with absolute seriousness. At her signal, the lesson commenced, intense and sudden, testing her talent to endure. Ultimately, he brought it to a close, regardless of her visible reluctance to stop. Despite her protest, the man reminded her of their agreement, carrying out the task with measured resolve. The woman shifted surprisingly, requesting discipline, her expression mixing shame with anticipation. Memories of childhood lessons resurfaced as she justified the plea, leaving him stunned and conflicted. The man paused, reminding himself of his duty as her protector, even amid absurd temptation. Still, her overwhelming presence tested his restraint beyond expectation. Sao, compelled by their prior agreement, advanced forward unwillingly as she made an unexpected request. Flushed and flustered, he struggled to maintain composure while urging her to respond. In a surprising shift, the girl started praying aloud, calling for divine power to endure. Despite her efforts, Sao recognized her sincerity with gentle regret and gripped back. The woman thanked him silently, her kiss sealing the unusual but heartfelt exchange. With flushed cheeks, the girl confessed her love to Sao, her tone trembling with emotion. The man leaned in without delay, sealing her words with a kiss that departed her wide-eyed. Intent on deepening the lesson, Sao cautioned her not to stop midway, resolved to guide her. Just as they embraced, a tone called from outside, startling them into silence. Hidden behind the curtain, Sao sighed in relief, aware of how close they'd come to being caught. While discussing lodging arrangements, the girl requested both her guards, Sao and Kalipa, share the identical chamber. Though some hesitated, she insisted without concern, placing full trust in them. Sao unwillingly consented, but the girl's quiet plea hinted her desires held deepened. As the caravan rolled on, he recognized something unsettling. He may have awakened something unstoppable in her.
In an instant charged with curiosity, the noble girl pressed herself against Sao, captivated by the power of his form. While sitting side by side, she wondered his motive for training so intensely elsewhere. During a tea gathering, the girls chuckled as they shared stories of Sao's daring actions, wondering if her feelings made her seem selfish for standing between two who cared for each other. Later, the three rested together, warmth shared among them. That girl expressed her desire openly, blurring the lines between affection and attraction. With lighthearted resolve, the three consented to seal their bond through a peculiar vow of loyalty. That ritual grew intimate, as each fulfilled their promise in their own way. Later that night, Sao rested in silence by the window, profound and considered. Outside the estate, the world remained quiet as dawn slowly approached. Sao remained before the window, reflecting on the long trip that held surprisingly brought them to the capital. Waking beside familiar faces, he became greeted warmly as the morning sun lit the chamber. The man changed into the ceremonial uniform, memories of his past surfacing as he readied to step forward. That girl's unveiled matching academy outfits, drawing Sao's stunned admiration. The others chuckled together, sharing light moments before the day truly started. A tense instant passed as Sao and his allies pledged to protect the youthful noble girl no matter the cost.
Despite the seriousness, warmth came back through shared affection and playful comfort among the three. Their convictions aligned, each vowing to become stronger for the sake of those they cherished. That girl, filled with resolve, talked of her hopes to grow worthy of her future role. Encouraged by her words, Sao and the knight remained boldly, separating her duty as a lord's daughter from her personal feelings. With cheerful expressions, the trio stepped into campus life together, set to face their fresh chapter. That prestigious royal school remained tall, welcoming the next generation of pupils through its grand gates. Inside the chamber, the principal delivered his welcome speech to a packed crowd of fresh arrivals. As the ceremony concluded, Sao observed the power and presence of the other pupils around them. The trio stepped into the chamber. The atmosphere hinted that their school life wouldn't be plain. The others were greeted by Whip, the instructor in charge, whose commanding presence departed Sao stunned. One careless comment earned Sao an immediate and aggressive correction, catching him off guard. Dragged across the floor, he swiftly recognized this became the academy's strict standard in action. Despite the harsh welcome, he agreed to the lesson, vowing to take things solemnly from then on. Before training could begin, the mentor announced a test of power through direct pupil battle. At the Grand Hall, a sharp-eyed mentor proclaimed that pupils would engage in battle to evaluate their potential. The woman unveiled it proved a customary event at the Royal Academy, a so-called friendly match that masked its intensity. Rather than the nobles themselves, only their personal attendants seemed required to participate, allowing pupils to remain uninvolved if they wished. Spotting one unfamiliar face, she recalled his peculiar role and wondered whether someone with the title Pole Master could even clash. With a composed yet confident gaze, Sao replied, subtly hinting that his real prowess awakened under the cover of night. A burst of energy, Sao raced off to the arena, earning an amused yet hopeful remark from the mentor. On the other side, a poised pupil expressed interest in facing a Pole Master. Curious about the unfamiliar title drawing closer, the elegant stranger requested a demonstration, conjuring a spark of fire while admiring Sao's appearance. Introducing herself as Bloom, second daughter of Lord Sigmund, she boldly unveiled her noble origins and magical ability. As flames danced from her fingers, she clarified her identity as a fire magician, beautiful, mighty, and surprisingly female. A swift blade strike interrupted the instant, as a knightess shielded her lady with precise ability and intense resolve. Introducing herself as Kalipa, guardian of Sutafu, she remained boldly while Bloom took interest in her uncommon position. Their noble backgrounds seemed unveiled. Sutafu, daughter of Lord Zarazaru, flanked by her knight and the curious Pole Master. Despite concerns, Sutafu steadily reminded others of her healing abilities, allowing her attendants to clash freely without terror of injury. Intrigued by their power, Bloom welcomed them boldly, expressing eagerness to witness the abilities they brought to the academy. Sutafu steadfastly remained her ground, declaring her attendants were not tools, but dear companions worthy of respect. Bloom's smug expression faltered briefly, then shifted into laughter, catching everyone off guard. With a smirk, she dismissed the sentiment as childish, amused by Sutafu's idealistic view of friendship. Before the tension could rise further, Bloom received a signal her attendant became ready, and it proved time to head to the arena. As she strode away, Sao casually joked with Calipa, comparing her to Bloom, which drew a sharp, flustered retort in return. Fueled by frustration, Calipa volunteered to fight, eager to prove herself against Bloom's arrogance. However, Sutafu softly declined, surprising everyone with her firm decision not to participate in the duel. Trembling slightly, she confessed her terror, recalling a traumatic attack from the past that left her feeling powerless regardless of her healing ability. Even so, she expressed admiration for her attendants, touched by their unwavering loyalty and bravery. Their response became warm and playful, reassuring her that power isn't born perfect. It grows from vulnerability, trust, and the bonds they now shared. Although eager to clash, Kalipa consented to step back for now, trusting she'd be required when the time was right. At the arena, a variety of nobles and attendants assembled, some treated with respect, others reduced to tools or jokes. Despite the tension, several matches concluded in mutual praise, showing the friendly match's deeper value beyond plain battle. As the event concluded, the mentor announced the winner, raising anticipation among the crowd. Emerging assuredly, Bloom introduced herself as the victor, accompanied by her imposing bodyguard, Clay Moa, a force none dared underestimate. The party observed Clay Moa in silence, astonished by her physique and impressed by her obvious force. Confident and triumphant, Moa flexed with pride, declaring the fight nothing more than a warm-up. Bloom, smiling beside her, hinted at a deeper goal behind the match, not just assessment, but establishing order. Raising her hand high, she unveiled the event became actually a ranking trial, and Clay remained undisputed at the top,
Claiming leadership, Bloom asserted her dominance, stating those who remained silent or lost held no right to object to her rule. Bloom proclaimed that those who didn't compete seemed fools, reinforcing that victory alone earned privilege and respect. Turning her notice to Sudafu, she openly criticized her choice to abstain, calling it a mark of weakness in a leader. With a cutting smile, Bloom ridiculed her role as a priest, suggesting she abandoned her right to inherit and embrace a lesser path. Crushed by shame, Sudafu hid her face, whispers spreading through the crowd. None dared challenge Bloom's words. Seizing the instant, Bloom offered to take in Sudafu's attendants, implying they'd thrive under someone more worthy of command. Just as Bloom finished her speech, a wooden training armament flew toward her, halting her words mid-sentence. Sao and Kalipa remained ready, weapons drawn, confronting Bloom and Moa without delay or warning. With unwavering resolve, the two proclaimed their stance. This became their answer to the insult aimed at their master. The others swiftly dropped to their knees before Sudafu, apologizing for acting without permission, but explaining they could not let the humiliation stand. Overwhelmed by their loyalty, Sudafu trembled with emotion, silently calling the offense against her spirit and dignity unforgivable. Tears filled Sudafu's gaze as she confessed her self-loathing, incapable of forgive her hesitation in the face of duty. The woman confessed her naivety and blamed herself for exposing her companions to humiliation and conflict. Moved by her sincerity, Sao and Kalipa embraced her softly, assuring her that the fault wasn't hers to bear alone. With renewed determination, Sudafu formally proclaimed her intent to join the next fight, not as a burden, but as a pleased leader with loyal allies. Pointing forward, she vowed victory with unwavering fire. They would smash Bloom's arrogance and claim their rightful place. Bloom and Moa held firm, with narrowed gaze and daring intent. They recognized Sudafu's challenge as a declaration of war. That arena brimmed with spectators, their anticipation echoing through the air. Combatants positioned themselves at the center, ready for the imminent clash. Watching closely, the silver-haired man assessed the sight, while his muscular ally readied to face the challengers with unwavering resolve. Opponents assembled in formation, uncertainty flashing across one of their faces as they considered confronting both at once. Guided by his hand, the ally advanced forward with resolve, leaving hesitation behind. With a firm stance, he promised to safeguard her honor, stepping into the fray to confront the oncoming threat. That youthful woman recognized the silver-haired man, allowing him to defend her honor while noting his audacity. Spectators murmured in shock as he positioned her safely, drawing notice for his daring actions. Another girl moved ahead, insisting on standing beside him regardless of the danger, resolved to support the fight. The man guided her to a special spot, preparing for the confrontation while she observed anxiously. Officials signaled the start, and both combatants assumed their stances, signaling the beginning of a decisive fight. Arena cleared, leaving two combatants facing each other with weapons drawn. Spectators leaned forward, anticipating the duel. That muscular woman tightened her grip on her blade, while the silver-haired man introduced himself as the staff's guard, signaling his readiness. The man stepped closer, offering a last challenge and a choice to flee, testing the resolve of his opponent. The woman's eyes widened in astonishment as he unveiled his calm focus, unshaken by the clash ahead. Holding his staff firmly, he reassured her, determined not to lose, and ready to face the duel without delay. Combat started as the muscular woman launched an attack, testing her opponent's defense. With a mighty strike, Won's swift movement sent her ability toward him, the armament slicing through the air with precision. Spectators flinched at the impact, some wincing as the force struck, while others admired the technique's speed and accuracy. Standing firm, he braced himself, resolved to claim victory and protect her as the duel intensified. Eyes locked, both fighters recognized each other's uncommon ability, preparing for the next decisive exchange without delay. Moa surged forward, swinging her blade with precise intent, set to demonstrate her ability. Clashing violently, weapons met with sparks and force, each strike testing power and defense. Focus sharpened as both fighters assessed one another. Sweat and tension, marking the intensity of battle, would hit against staff with immense force, each blow sending vibrations through the arena floor. Determination flared in every movement, each attack and parry escalating the duel toward an inevitable conclusion. Moa leapt from above, aiming a mighty strike to catch her opponent off guard. Momentum bore her through the air, forcing him to react instantly. Both fighters met with a thunderous clash, exchanging rapid, skillful blows that echoed throughout the arena. Precision and power dictated each movement, neither willing to yield. Spectators erupted in astonishment, witnessing the improbable as a pole armament countered a blade with devastating effect. He steadied himself, asserting that no woman would be harmed.
his focus remaining sharp regardless of the chaos surrounding him. Refusing to be underestimated, Moa's determination surged, her gaze unyielding as she challenged every assumption and demanded respect in every strike. Victory was proclaimed after the duel, but notice swiftly shifted to the broken sword, marking the outcome plainly in the crowd's eyes. The man advised that results mattered above all, highlighting the importance of trusting attendance and recognizing when to step back. Moa's protest barely broke through his composure, her gaze wide with concern as she struggled to assert herself. A compliment trailed, praising the skill and force demonstrated during the fight, drawing genuine surprise and gratitude from the youthful man. From across the arena, she observed silently as he discussed strategy, talent, and careful choices, emphasizing the value of controlled power and wise decision-making. A bow of apology was offered, signaling respect and recognition for past remarks, quieting the arena briefly. That youthful woman hesitated, gathering her thoughts before speaking, while attendants and combatants observed attentively. One gentle request trailed, asking for more consideration toward Manga, who fought bravely throughout the duel. Acknowledgement and explanation accompanied the advice, emphasizing that brief actions or gestures gripped more significance than immediate outcomes. Encouragement to conduct oneself better became given, highlighting the importance of fairness, respect, and thoughtful behavior in all interactions. Acknowledgement came from Moa's effort, recognizing her ability and determination regardless of the outcome. Moa called out as he departed, her tone trailing through the arena as he advanced toward the exit. Reflections trailed among the pupils and attendants, evaluating the match's intensity and the lessons learned for future duels. Unexpected affection astonished observers, leaving expressions of astonishment as bonds between allies seemed unveiled. Own clenched fist hinted at unresolved tension, signaling that challenges and rivalries seemed far from over. Cao reached at a grand estate, beginning his fresh life encircled by Calipa and the Oju. One peaceful routine unfolded as he stepped into this unfamiliar world. Days passed with intense study. In biology, mishaps with slimes created chaos, while in language class, focus and diligence took hold. The man tackled history, arithmetic, and even refined etiquette. Sports pushed his limits, and daily life grew more structured and fulfilling. Half a year went by smoothly. Yet one classmate remained out. Bloom. The woman's sudden closeness sparked curiosity. Bloom grew bolder, inserting herself into Cao's classes, watching his every move with keen interest, approached with a cheerful offer, suggesting they tackle their growing homework load as a team, bringing Cao into the plan as well. The woman's persistence grew overwhelming. Day and night she called out to Staffju with endless questions, invitations, and daring remarks. Frustration reached a breaking point. That Oju, exhausted by Bloom's constant notice, finally exploded in a fit of tears and rage. Cao and Calipa listened silently as she vented her feelings, torn between wanting companionship and feeling utterly smothered. The others pondered Bloom's intentions, scouting revenge, or something else. Still, her behavior, although intense, hadn't crossed the line into actual harm. Exhaustion finally took hold. That Oju, overwhelmed by months of unwanted notice, confessed her patience was wearing thin. Caught in the middle, confessed his own fatigue. Despite his usual charm, even he couldn't handle Bloom's persistence much longer. With a dramatic scream, the youthful lady lashed out, shaking the halls. The woman's frustration erupted louder than ever before. Though scolded for dodging the issue, Cao attempted to soothe her nerves with kindness and familiar comfort. Later that night, peace came back. That trio snuggled in bed, preparing for the next day with an instant of quiet togetherness. That mentor presented their certificate, acknowledging the team's successful completion of the year's compulsory subjects. The woman commended their surprising speed, expressing gratitude for having such capable pupils under her care. Despite their exhaustion, the praise didn't end there. The instructor, with a commanding presence, announced a fresh task, an advanced challenge for her top pupils. Zone dungeon training assignment became unveiled, leaving the trio stunned. None held expected such a leap in difficulty. Information trailed swiftly. Dungeons seemed scattered across the land, hiding uncommon materials and secrets, perfect for their next test of growth. That dungeon came with a reputation, one laced with peril, traps, and unsettling illusions. Even the map hinted at erotic pitfalls and lurking beasts. Despite the absurd details, the instructor remained serious. She proclaimed it their next challenge, offering genuine world experience, typically reserved for senior pupils. Calipa boldly volunteered, eager to prove herself. Cao voiced concern for their Oju, concerned about the risks ahead. Surprisingly, the Oju moved ahead. Blushing but resolved, she insisted on joining, unwilling to be departed behind. Fear lingered in her spirit, but resolve took root. The woman longed to change, to face peril head-on without retreat. That party celebrated Oju resolve, pleased of how far she had come. Their joy, however, became short-lived. Mentor interrupted the instant, informing them that a minimum party of 5 became required for dungeon entry. Their spirits sank. That excitement they held, built up, crumbled instantly, faces frozen in astonishment. Just then, Bloom emerged, overhearing their plight. With a confident smile, she offered her help without delay, volunteering herself and Moa. Bloom boldly proclaimed they would both join the mission. That team, stunned, held no choice but to accept the unexpected reinforcements. Bloom assured them both she and Moa held completed their subjects. Sao, although wary, confessed her help rescued them time. Unexpectedly, the Oju suggested giving up. The woman's gentle smile masked deeper concern. But it wasn't terror of creatures she dreaded facing Bloom or. Sao comforted her as she trembled, realizing Bloom held become her real terror. With suspicious timing, Bloom claimed it proved mere coincidence she accompanied the challenge. The woman's sparkle didn't fool anyone. Kalipa wondered her further where exactly became Moa Bloom. Taken by surprise, had plainly spoken without her partner's consent. With a chilling smile, Bloom claimed Moa became merely her attendant, expected to obey without question, prompting whispers of abuse of force. Oju clung tightly to Sao, shouting her refusal. That considered of entering the dungeon with Bloom became too much to bear. As doubt filled the chamber, Sao hesitated. That odds felt stacked against them, and the party's resolve started to crumble. Bloom seized the instant, pressuring them with veiled reasoning. Waiting would cost them time and opportunity. The woman's logic stung with threat. Though reluctant, Sao confessed unfortunately, she did make a valid point. Cornered her once more, pressing her to decide. Trembling, Oju clenched her fist, on the verge of tears. The woman's tone cracked, but she pushed through. With all her might, she yelled her resolve they would face the challenge together. Declaring herself mature enough, she would not let terror or personal feelings hinder their path forward. That team commended her bravery. Bloom submitted the application form, sealing their names for the mission. But the instructor raised a last issue: Moa hadn't completed her coursework, and without that, their challenge couldn't be approved. Sao demanded answers as Bloom unveiled. The reality: Moa was still in the middle of her last exam. That instructor consented to approve the mission if she passed. Bloom, unfazed, insisted Moa would succeed. With that assurance, the team's hope became restored. Moa's stern expression talked volumes. The party recognized she had her own burdens, silently enduring life under Bloom's command. When she found out, Moa became furious. Bloom had made the decision without her. Although she passed her exam ultimately, finally, the team departed. In the early morning, their carriage rolled toward the settlement near the dungeon. Past noon, the party remained quiet in the carriage. Each member, clad in their gear, prepared themselves mentally for what lay ahead. Arriving at the settlement, tension filled the air. That party stepped off, already sensing the shift in atmosphere as they approached the dungeon. Own towering, bearded man greeted them. Introducing himself as the dungeon's warden, he welcomed them to the cauldron of hell. He commended their reputation as top pupils, having overheard about them directly from Whip. Then, while gazing at the thick foliage, he commented on the abundant harvest, leaving the party puzzled and slightly uneasy. That warden clarified that passing the exam in the first year was uncommon. Most who did lacked teammates and couldn't proceed. Their group, however, defied the odds. Bloom smugly claimed it proved only natural after all. She became special. Warden cautioned them sternly, no matter their abilities, the dungeon's goal was to break pupils who grew overconfident. The others finally remained before the ominous entrance. With a chilling glare, he cautioned them once more: if they weren't ready, they'd die. Nerves tightened yet, with mixed expressions, each prepared for their first real adventure inside the darkness. A group of pupils assembled before a dungeon entrance. As their mentor unveiled the mission: retrieve a special stone hidden in the dungeon's deepest chamber. The man assured them that failure wouldn't shame them, but his remarks challenged the pride of the silver-haired mage. Sao boldly proclaimed his intent to surpass expectations. The man would conquer the trial with his power and cunning, resolved to succeed where others had failed. With resolve set, the party ready to enter. Encouraged by his allies, Sao agreed to the adventure ahead with assurance. That party stepped into the depths. As tension rose, Sao remained composed, flanked by his allies, eager to prove himself in the unknown. Advanced through the torch-lit stone corridor, the atmosphere dense with silence and tension. As they strode, Sao observed the vast interior, speculating that the structure may have once been a fortress. That scale impressed him. Without warning, slime creatures dropped from above. Sao swiftly assessed the threat while the others reacted in alarm. With steady focus, he raised his staff and unleashed a barrage of fireballs, incinerating the foes in a moment. Standing over the remains, he proclaimed the challenge too easy. Despite his team's protests, Sao chose to continue the dungeon alone. As Sao's declaration of going solo caused frustration, the girls urged him to speak up. but he remained indifferent to their concerns. Instead, he turned his focus to the slimes, fascinated by their unique traits. To him, they seemed valuable specimens for his own personal research. The man's unusual behavior drew teasing from a classmate, who pointed out his unorthodox outfit and habits. Another pupil confronted him with a blade, disapproving of his carefree attitude. The woman struggled with her own pride after losing to him, despite her stern scolding. Sao remained composed. The woman reflected on her own shortcomings and frustrations, feeling like she hadn't progressed since enrollment. Sao listened as Moa shared her warning his ally. Although loyal, would be quick to sway him if given the opportunity. With intense resolve, Moa proclaimed her loyalty. The woman vowed never to lose her position beside the one she served. The woman's past unveiled profound roots. The woman had been chosen as a personal bodyguard to Bloom since childhood, raised alongside her. Despite Bloom's protests, Moa remained dutiful. Tensions simmered between them, as their roles clashed in subtle but stubborn ways. Challenged in a duel, Bloom easily disarmed Moa, proving her power. Moa became forced to acknowledge the girl's capability firsthand. Bloom extended her hand with a sincere offer, asking Moa to support her dream. Moa, regardless of being defeated, recognized Bloom's power, determined not to lose her place. Moa vowed to regain her master's full trust and not let anyone else replace her. Sao steadily pointed out the obvious: her devotion rushed deeper than pride. Moa's startled reaction gave her feelings away. Ultimately, she confessed the reality with a blush. Her loyalty stemmed from genuine affection and love for her master. Flustered but fiery, Moa proclaimed she would become stronger. Her challenge was loud and heartfelt, even if Sao joked with her playfully. The party encountered a massive door that would not move. Despite their efforts, it wouldn't budge, frustrating Moa enough to consider cutting it down. Caution became advised. Forcing it open could trigger traps. That team weighed the risk and consented searching for a key might be wiser. None of their classes possessed the necessary abilities to unlock it. The others remained in uncertainty, momentarily halted. Sao abruptly proposed using a pole-like tool. While others doubted him, he assuredly inserted the item into the keyhole. Surprisingly, the mechanism clicked. The man's unorthodox method worked, unlocking the entrance with unexpected precision. As the giant entrance creaked open, the party remained stunned. Sao's unique class pole master held succeeded in an unexpected way. That mage commended him, recognizing that Sao's talents extended far beyond battle. His adaptability pressed on to surprise his allies. With growing interest, the mage expressed admiration. The man hinted at his noble background and plans for leadership, seeking Sao's value by his side. Meanwhile, the girls expressed mixed feelings: fondness, jealousy, and playful doubt, each trying to hold Sao's notice in their own way. Driven by frustration and pride, Moa launched herself at incoming slimes, resolved to demonstrate her power without relying on Sao. Sao attempted to lighten Moa's load, but she would not share the fight. The woman's pride kept her from accepting help. Even when others displayed concern, she ignored them, vowing to push beyond her limits alone. One teammate offered honest criticism. Though Moa held ability, her wild strikes displayed a lack of control and discipline. That mage observed coldly. The man wondered Moa's worth as a follower, suggesting she wasn't cut out for the path ahead. Emotionally overwhelmed, Moa broke down. The woman's usual bravado faded as she begged for forgiveness from Bloom, her real master. At the dungeon's deepest point, the party discovered the glowing stone. As one approached it, tremors abruptly shook the chamber. From the mist emerged a towering bull creature, its sheer presence halting everyone in their tracks. Identified as a minotaur, the creature's appearance defied the instructor's assurances. Despite supervision, the peril was genuine and savage. Sao braced himself, commenting on how intense the circumstance remained right up to the end of their test. That mage, grinning with delight, witnessed this as his instant. The man ready to unleash his full force on the beast.
An enormous minotaur emerges, its mighty form towering over the party. One girl steps forward, claiming the right to defeat it herself. Without delay, the minotaur smashes through the stone corridor. Rubble scatters in all directions while the party swiftly retreats from its path. Refusing backup, the girl moves in with unwavering resolve. The woman demands space, resolved to handle the threat alone. The man's allies look on, slightly stunned by her intense insistence. No one dares to oppose her claim. Ultimately, they ease into reluctant acceptance. Although confident in their own power, Sao and the others decide to let her have the spotlight for now. Magic flares to life as the wizard unleashes a blazing torrent. Flames surge forward in a straight line, swallowing the path ahead. Watching the firestorm rage, the caster appears confident. With the fight seemingly in hand, thoughts drift toward victory and celebration. To their surprise, the minotaur rises from the inferno, barely scorched. Its form shakes off the heat as it prepares to strike back. One enormous fist rushes toward the mage. Panic flashes in her gaze. There isn't enough time to finish casting another spell. Just before the blow lands, a blade intercepts. The woman's ally leaps in, shielding her from the attack with intense determination. An explosive impact shakes the battlefield, throwing up debris. That mage stares ahead, stunned by the force of the Minotaur's counter. While the dust settles, Sao carries the injured Moa back. The man regrets not intercepting the attack in time. As the healer tends to Moa's wounds, Sao rises. Determined to honor her efforts, he refuses to retreat. With heavy wooden poles in hand, the team launches a peculiar strategy. Their synchronized stance suggests a plan long practiced. Spinning and striking as one, they unleash a flurry of coordinated blows. That sheer force of the pole sword dance slams into the Minotaur, overwhelming its defenses with relentless precision. Tears streamed down her face as she wondered the motive for Mocha's selfless act. The woman couldn't understand why someone would risk their life to protect someone as powerless as her. With urgency in her tone, she begged the healer to save Moa. Holding her tightly, she clung to hope as the others stepped aside, giving the priestess space to work. Desperation spilled into pleas. The woman promised anything, as long as Moa survived. Frustration boiled over in a sudden outburst. While the others speculated about her power, the healer snapped, unleashing an intense blow to silence the noise. Relief trailed swiftly. Moa stirred faintly, her injuries not as severe as dreaded. Moa jolts awake, puzzled but alert. Concerned voices surround her as her allies explain how she became injured. Skepticism turns to surprise when she hears more about the healer's desperate efforts. Noticing the defeated Minotaur nearby, Moa reflects on her failure. The woman expresses gratitude for being healed, humbled by her inability to protect her master. Seated among her allies, she admits her weakness and acknowledges the peril they both confronted. Despite her regret, the party reassures her that her efforts seemed meaningful. Softening, Moa silently gives thanks. The woman's defenses lower as she vows not to forget what was done for her. Moa tilted her head, puzzled by his vague offer. Across from her, he nervously repeated the word anything, unsure of what he held just consented to. Without warning, she reached forward and pressed her hands against his firm abdomen. The woman's expression turned heated, not from anger but from confusion. Although she recalled saying she'd repay him, she wondered why he became now inspecting her abs. Embarrassment spread between them. The man's honest admiration for her muscles departed her flustered, while the others silently observed the awkward interaction unfold. As his hands lingered, something unexpected happened. One unusual sensation washed over her, stirring unfamiliar emotions. He clarified that his true role wasn't battle-concentrated, but tied to arousal, surprising everyone with his peculiar skill set. Moa reacted with disbelief, frustrated that her blade technique seemed overcome by something so unrelated to fighting. Without warning, she hit him out of embarrassment and irritation. The woman's emotions boiled over, mixing laughter with aggression. Determined to prove herself, Moa challenged him again, this time in his domain, insisting that he not go easy on her. Moa challenged Sao with intense determination, declaring she would confront him in his own domain. Without delay, she proposed a daring contest, one based not on weapons, but on physical intimacy. The woman framed it as an endurance fight, where the first to give in would lose, surprising Sao with her serious tone. Despite having no experience, Moa remained unfazed, revealing her inexperience with composed resolve. Driven by pride and a desire to redeem her past defeat, she placed victory above chastity, preparing to go all out in her unique duel. Sao agreed to the challenge with composure, praising Moa's resolve while drawing skeptical remarks from their onlookers. To prove his sincerity, he unveiled himself fully, shocking Moa with his unexpected boldness and physical attributes. Confronting him directly, Moa attempted to maintain her pride, refusing to back down regardless of the intimidating sight. Declaring her power as a greatsword user, she swore to take control of the fight without delay. Locked in the intense match, Moa pushed herself to the limit, drawing concern from others as Sao struggled to endure. As the struggle intensified, Sao's form reacted in ways that astonished everyone present, drawing shock and confusion from those watching closely. Moa started to realize that he held restrained himself earlier, and the sudden shift in momentum departed her unsettled despite acknowledging defeat. She held firm, admitting her loss while vowing to surpass him in the future through sheer determination. Emotions surged between them as Sao advanced closer, triggering an instinctive reaction from Moa, who resisted while plainly shaken. That contest reached its limit when Moa finally gave in, her endurance failing as Sao maintained control, bringing the peculiar duel to its conclusion. Unexpectedly, another woman accompanied in, expressing admiration for the muscular clash between Moa and Sao.
Wishing to be part of their intense exchange, the woman eagerly placed herself between them, overwhelmed by the sensation of being encircled by their power, drawing comparisons to nostalgic memories from her past. Without delay, she started to undress, proudly offering herself as a new challenger, declaring her body may not be as firm, but still worthy. Their interaction became interrupted by the sudden arrival of a familiar face, causing everyone to turn and react in surprise and concern. That tension gave way to relief as words of apology and reassurance were exchanged between aged companions. A familiar figure in a huge hat silently observed, noting an uncommon glimpse of vulnerability in Moa that he had never seen before. Party regrouped, acknowledging their success in clearing the dungeon and defeating the Minotaur. With time running short, they chose to return before drawing unwanted notice. News of their success spread swiftly. One astonished gatekeeper couldn't believe they had cleared such a hazardous dungeon. The party presented the proof of conquest, puzzled by his skepticism regardless of saying nothing yet, dismissed the formalities, stating the evidence became already lying beside them, hinting he held been watching all along. Sao and the others gazed around in confusion, after hearing they held missed something standing beside them. To their shock, a towering humanoid beast with bull horns emerged right next to them, flexing dramatically without aggression. Panic erupted among the party, mistaking the figure for a revived Minotaur. They scrambled into fight-ready stances, unprepared for a second round. However, a closer look unveiled. It wasn't a Minotaur at all. It proved a different species entirely called a Minosunkerus, and seemingly not hostile still. The discovery raised serious doubts about dungeon safety, as the area became supposedly secure and intended only for pupil training. That reality about the Minosunkerus was unveiled. It held originated from a Minotaur, modified by a magic-influencing mentor at the academy. Though intimidating in appearance, the creature served as a lesson tool for arrogant pupils and also doubled as a guardian in emergencies. Despite its fearsome look, the beast turned out to be friendly and loyal, earning the party's respect as a reliable ally. It held come not to clash but to report their dungeon victory. That party responded with humility, apologizing for the unintended interference. Others seemed astonished that such fresh pupils had defeated it, prompting reflection on whether the school had intended this as a lesson all along. The mentor justified the harsh dungeon trial, admitting it proved designed to prevent greater tragedy in real battle. Acknowledging their power, he proclaimed the party had passed the test and would receive a temporary permit to explore further. Excitement filled the air as the pupils celebrated their opportunity to take on more adventures and grow stronger together. However, one member held firm, expressing quiet resistance to the permit, signaling unresolved conviction. That party assembled around Bloom, astonished by her refusal to accept the dungeon's reward. The woman's solemn stance made everyone pause. Tears welled in Bloom's gaze as she murmured about the permit. The woman sensed unworthy of the recognition it symbolized. Haunted by her earlier arrogance and failure, she reflected on the burden she'd placed on her teammates, ashamed of their sacrifice. Before the overseer, Bloom requested that her allies receive the reward instead. It became her wood, shaped by regret and gratitude. Though rules prevented personal exclusions, Bloom held firm. The woman's pride wouldn't allow undeserved honor, not without acknowledging the team's power. Sao remained silent, taken aback by the elder's comment. That cost of failure, he became informed, was minor compared to what others had lost. Reality hit harder as the elder listed the real price of recklessness: limbs, lives, and comrades. That weight of responsibility grew heavier. Revealing a prosthetic leg, the elder reminded them he too held once confronted that identical bitter lesson as an adventurer. Faced with his emotions, Sao wondered the direction of his guilt and sorrow, unsure where to place the burden within him. Though it proved only a simulation, the considered of losing Moa due to his weakness deeply unsettled him, carving fear into resolve. Finally, Sao confronted Staff Zhao, apologizing for his careless words during the entrance ceremony, his tone filled with regret. Realization settled in powerlessness came with unbearable cost. That considered of allies getting harmed weighed heavily on his conscience. Before he could spiral deeper, a comrade seized him, declaring that her own shortcomings, not his, led to their failure. The woman's tone sharp, she reminded him of their shared goal. The others hadn't fought just to hear him despair. Stepping closer, she challenged him. One real lord wouldn't crumble in defeat, especially not before the one who held bested him. Moa lashed out, her tone sharp with urgency. The woman urged Sao to cast aside his shame and stop wasting the opportunity before him. Moved by her passion, Sao muttered his admiration, recognizing Moa's inner power and conviction. With a scoff, she rejected the compliment outright. Praise gripped no value for her, not in the heat of disappointment. Instead of speaking, Sao lowered his head. That gesture became quiet, but his sincerity and reflection could be sensed by all around him. Breaking down, he clung to Moa, begging her to disregard his weakness. The man dreaded losing the bond he had just begun to cherish. With gentle firmness, Staff Jew placed her hand on Sao's cheek. The woman informed him to carry the lesson into their next dungeon challenge. Her tone steady, she spoke not exactly when a healer, but as an equal, offering him sincere respect as both noble and ally. From the sidelines, Moa and the others broke the tension. They joked with the instant, downplaying it with light-hearted banter overwhelmed. Sao studied his teammates. Their unwavering presence departed him speechless, gratitude welling behind his gaze, surrounded by their warmth. Sao let his tears fall silently. In that instant, he understood he became never truly alone. Sao remained encircled by his allies, overcome with emotion. The man thanked them from the bottom of his spirit, his tone trembling. Watching from afar, the observers grinned. To them, this instant captured the spirit of youth in its purest form. That mentor offered last words of encouragement. The man wished the experience would become a lasting lesson, one they could carry through life. Days passed, but their permit still hadn't reached. Despite clearing the dungeon, they remained in limbo, waiting behind the scenes. Debate stirred within the academy. Their success, although impressive, held sparked unexpected controversy among the faculty. An emotional outburst trailed Moa's private encounter. The woman struggled with the impact it had on her concentration and focus during training. Later, a lighthearted exchange unfolded. Moa's protectiveness flared, warning the others not to harm or misjudge Bloom. That conversation shifted when it proved unveiled Bloom was staying at a noble's estate, surprising Moa and prompting further teasing. As the location became clarified, tension grew. Moa expressed concern over the implications of such an arrangement. Vivid imagination took over, and panic escalated. Moa dramatically proclaimed the noble estate more hazardous than any dungeon she'd ever seen. One cheerful visitor named Bloom arrives unannounced at the estate, bringing a lively energy that startles the reserved household. To ease the atmosphere, she offers a homemade pie as a goodwill gesture that staff accept it with nervous gratitude. Bloom expresses delight at staying over, while the vigilant maid watches her every move, issuing a stern warning to behave. Despite earlier tension, the party relaxes and lighthearted banter fills the air as everyone enjoys the uncommon company. Reflecting silently, Bloom acknowledges Moa's loyalty, vowing not to bring shame to the one who believes in her. Overcome with emotion, Moa bolts from the chamber, declaring her intent to train and hide her tears of pride. Caliba joins her outside, eager to train, and addresses her with a fresh nickname, forming a sibling-like bond. Their swords clash with intensity, both concentrated and resolved, unaware that they're being silently observed from the manor window. Back inside, the others note how swiftly Caliba holds bonded with Moa, impressed by their growing friendship and shared ability. Though aware the duel continues outside, the party starts their tea, enjoying the homemade pie with light conversation and laughter. During the meal, Caliba and the blonde girl exchange bites of pie, creating a surprisingly intimate atmosphere that catches Sao off guard. Sao watches them fondly, wishing for the identical warmth in his bond with Moa, although unsure how to reach that closeness. Memories of past mistakes and a recent duel deepen Sao's reflection, stirring both regret and gratitude for his loyal ally. Despite his growing appreciation, a troubling suspicion arises. Sao feels Moa might be hiding something from him. When he questions her, Moa deflects nervously, yet Sao chooses trust, reminding himself that everyone carries hidden burdens. Doubt lingers in Sao's thoughts as he wonders if Moa hides something too sensitive for him to understand. Caliba, guilt-ridden, suspects he might be the motive behind Moa's mystery outings, realizing the weight of his influence. While Bloom reflects on his longer bond with Moa, he questions the depth of the newer pair's connection and their rapid closeness. That girl hesitates, considering whether complete honesty remains even possible in a relationship built on so many unspoken things. Though her advice is wise, Bloom admits his terror of vulnerability, incapable of share his weaker self, even with Moa. While softly prodding his pie, Sao reflects on the reality that everyone holds vulnerabilities, even the strongest among them. That girl speaks with sincerity, explaining that sharing weaknesses builds mutual support and ultimately strengthens relationships. The woman's words prompt Sao to consider opening up. The man admits his pleased exterior may have masked his real self for far too long. A memory surfaces training beside his older sister, pushing each other to grow, regardless of her being chosen as heir. Years later, Sao confronts her unexpected decision to marry, feeling betrayed as she abandons the dream they once shared. Sao's sister explains her decision to marry for the family's sake, encouraging him to carry on their legacy with pride and power. Left behind, a younger Sao vows to surpass everyone and prove himself worthy of becoming the next family head. Years later, he confesses how that vow consumed him, turning ambition into obsession as he forced power into every interaction, even with Moa.
The man's vulnerability draws warmth from others, and the girl beside him silently expresses joy at understanding him better. As light-hearted teasing resumes, Sao finds himself silently astonished by Moa's bashful reaction, an uncommon glimpse beneath her tough demeanor. Embarrassed by his own reaction, Sao brushes off Moa's concern, pretending everything remains fine as he finishes his dessert. Night falls, and the party retires after heartfelt conversations. Sao reflects in silence, wrestling with the difficulty of embracing vulnerability. Awakened by an unusual sense of absence, he notices Moa's bed remains empty and wonders where she could have gone at this hour. With a conjured flame to light his way, he wanders the quiet halls, suspecting she might be secretly training again. Drawn to a staff chamber, Sao hears hushed voices inside, his curiosity and concern sharpening as he edges closer to the entrance. In the dimly lit chamber, Moa finds herself amidst unexpected intimacy as teasing remarks fly among the party in a shared bed. Just outside, Sao overhears the sight and is hit with disbelief, his thoughts racing at the realization of what he's witnessing. From his view, Moa appears involved as well, and he grapples with the shock of her being part of something so private. Jealousy and confusion swirl as he questions whether she's showing a side to them he's never seen himself. When the entrance creaks open, the party notices him. Chaos erupts, faces flush with panic, as Sao stands frozen in embarrassment. Sao remains overwhelmed as the party defends their actions, each admitting their role in forming unexpected bonds through intimate choices. Despite the shock, he processes their sincerity and starts to understand the connection they've built in their own way. Moved by a mix of emotions, Sao gathers his courage and decides to join them, setting aside pride and hesitation. Without warning, the girl started undressing, catching everyone off guard. Her boldness left the party in stunned silence, although Sao emerged flustered yet receptive, stepping forward with conviction. The girl expressed her desire to join their journey. While the party rested in uncertainty, the girl wrestled with her own resolve. Falling behind wasn't an option, not when the others aimed higher. She forced a smile through her nerves, encouraging unity regardless of her shaky delivery. As she pulled her clothes back on, doubt crept in. Wondering if she held misread the instant, she wondered their closeness and her place within it. Nervous and vulnerable, the girl confessed this became her first time. Gently, one of the girls offered comfort, assuring her that such feelings seemed natural. Laughter and teasing soon trailed as the party reacted to her modesty. Even Mocha, usually unshaken, was taken by surprise by the uncommon reveal. Later, during their bath, her unease came back. Though the others emerged relaxed, she struggled with the notice drawn to her form. Sao, composed and collected, commended her uniqueness. The man's words, both embarrassing and sincere, made her feel seen rather than judged. Smiling with renewed confidence, she agreed to his admiration. Though flustered, she welcomed the affection with a quiet sense of pride. Bloom, unusually shy, received gentle teasing from the others. The woman's vulnerability surfaced, contrasting with the boldness she usually displayed. In the next chamber, Sao and the others became lost in an intimate instant. Moa remained by conflicted but silently observing. Though she masked it, Moa's spirit ached. Seeing her close ally so profoundly connected with others made her feel isolated. Unable to hold back, Moa confronted her emotions. The woman blamed herself for failing to protect what mattered and expressed her devotion without restraint. Finally, the tension melted. Their embrace became an unspoken promise. Moa would stay by her side, even in the darkest moments. In an instant of uncommon honesty, Moa confessed her surprise at being truly agreed to. Vulnerability crept into her words as closeness reshaped their bond. What trailed became an intense exchange of trust and physicality. That atmosphere grew heavy yet warm, as emotions surfaced through action more than words. United in goal, they expressed their feelings not just through speech, but through mutual acceptance. Others, once distant, reached out too, seeking inclusion, understanding, and unity. Barriers dissolved in that quiet yearning for connection. Bound by affection and unspoken promises, the party came together driven by gratitude, ambition, and the wish to support each other's dreams, unified in goal. The girls proclaimed their shared ambition to rise together, not anymore held back by hesitation or fear. As the journey resumed, a peaceful silence settled in. That carriage rocked softly while Sao drifted into contentment, his spirit full from outside perspectives. Sao remained as goofy and sincere as ever. Each ally, in their own way, appreciated his unshakable presence. Inside the carriage, laughter bloomed, bonds held deepened, and now they traveled not exactly when a party, but as something closer. Yet, even in the warmth of that instant, a reminder lingered: real challenges still lay ahead. And the next chapter became near. That party traveled across open plains, eyes fixed on the distant dungeon ahead, set to face whatever awaited them together. One parchment filled with mysterious runes confirmed their right to explore. This became the official dungeon exploration permit.
Gathered before their mentor, the party listened as she clarified, the permit is goal access to basic dungeons for training and growth, while the license only allowed entry into low-level areas. One member burst with enthusiasm, eager to conquer every dungeon the world offered. Cautioning them about the dangers ahead, the mentor reminded them that these genuine dungeons demanded full awareness and risked their very lives. With a hopeful expression, she sent them off, urging them to stay sharp and return without harm. That party assembled boldly, permits in hand, each member filled with resolve and ready for their next trial. Their journey led them to the city of Singram, a quiet place hiding the entrance to a fresh dungeon. As they strode through the streets, aged memories surfaced battles fought back home, and the thrill of early adventures. Wide gaze scanned the towering structure ahead, its overwhelming size unlike anything they held encountered before. That sandstone dungeon loomed over the city, signaling the start of a challenge that would test their power and unity. Sao remarked on the party's armor coverage, noting the defensive advantage of less exposed skin, although his observation earned him skeptical looks. Recalling their instructor's warning, the party recognized the risks ahead and reaffirmed the need for caution during their travels. Despite the tension, the conversation took an odd turn as someone joked about sleeping arrangements, drawing flustered reactions and laughter from the others. Before entering the dungeon, they consented their first task became registering with the local adventurers guild, following the guidance they had been given. While searching through unfamiliar streets, the party struggled to find their destination until a helpful local pointed them in the right direction. One confident woman lounged at the street corner, casually pointing the party toward their destination while biting into a huge piece of meat. The woman glanced at them with curiosity, suspecting they were newcomers by their unsure demeanor and matching outfits. One of the pupils cheerfully confirmed their status, explaining they had come from the Royal Academy to challenge the local dungeon, laughing at their innocence. The woman offered a blunt warning reminding them that not every adventurer was friendly, regardless of guild affiliations. The woman's last remark chilled the party in this world. The careless could easily become prey, devoured without mercy. The party finally reached at the guild chamber, a bustling place filled with hardened adventurers drinking and talking loudly at crowded tables. As Sao and his party stepped through the entrance, several patrons took immediate notice of the unfamiliar faces. Uneasy glances trailed them as they approached the counter, prompting murmured concerns about the guild's unfriendly atmosphere. Before they could register, a group of rough-looking men confronted Sao, mocking the newcomers for ignoring them. That tension grew as one of the men eyed the party, amused by the gender ratio, and hinting at something more sinister. Tensions escalated when crude remarks seemed thrown at the girls, mocking their roles as blade-wielding adventurers. One of the brutes ridiculed Sao, calling him lucky for being encircled by women, his tone dripping with jealousy. Unfazed, Sao responded steadily but steadfastly, refusing to let the harassment continue. The man challenged the man brandishing an peculiar armament, a wooden pestle. With unexpected force, he hit with precision, sending the bully flying and writhing in shock, his comrades recoiling in astonishment. In the aftermath, the party remained victorious while the defeated aggressors lay groveling, their threat thoroughly extinguished. As the dust settled, Sao steadily clarified that his strike had been precise, not lethal. He had avoided serious harm regardless of appearances. That woman from earlier reappeared, praising his ability and revealing herself as Guruka, a fellow adventurer sent to evaluate the party. Realizing their mistake, the defeated men apologized, acknowledging the difference in power and expressing regret for underestimating them. Their attitude flipped entirely, offering praise and even proposing a bizarre suggestion, still stunned by the force of Sao's technique. Embarrassed yet amused, his party joked with him, incapable of containing their laughter, as the awkward tension gave way to levity. After observing the party's strength, Guruka recognized their skill without delay and decided it was time to move forward. The woman led the party to the dungeon entrance, standing tall as she addressed them with assurance and goal. At the base of the colossal Singram dungeon, the adventurers listened as Guruka pointed upward, assigning their mission reached the highest floor. Inside, a labyrinth awaited structured like an ant nest, each chamber required to be cleared before advancing. Partway through, a haunting melody drifted around them. No one seemed to be singing, yet the tune persisted. Unease settled among them, although one attempted to hide their nerves. One few light-hearted words aided ease the tension. Ultimately, the reality emerged. Wind flowing through narrow holes in the walls produced the sound, giving the illusion of voices singing. Guruka unveiled the origin of the area's name, Sing, and Room, a title born from the wind's melodic hum within the dungeon's walls. Before the party could relax, profound rumbling echoed ahead. Massive objects rolled into view, thundering toward them. Without delay, the party identified the threat, most speed, a hardened creature that attacks by impact. One lunged forward, catching them off guard. Reacting swiftly, the armored knight intercepted the assault, her shield crashing into the charging beast with precision. The woman countered with an intense tiger thrust, piercing the foe. Though effective, she understood her technique still trailed behind Sao's legendary moves. That mage started her chant, enchanting her ally's blade with fire. That swordswoman responded without delay, charging into fight. The woman's strike landed cleanly. That flaming blade tore through the centipede-like beast, burning it from within. Garuka observed from behind as the pupils handled the assault, impressed by their coordination. She understood it proved her turn to act. Sometime earlier, a request had been made. Garuka became tasked with guiding the pupils through their trial. But that wasn't all. An additional favor was inquired of her to silently observe one pupil in particular. The mysterious pupil under observation was named Sao, a youthful man with a peculiar title, the Pole Master. Despite 6 months of monitoring, little became understood about the nature of his unique talent, making him a subject of academic curiosity. The request was plain. Garuka was inquired not only to guide the pupils, but to observe and evaluate Sao's potential firsthand. Although skeptical of his performance so far, she consented to watch over him without interference. Ultimately, her role remained unchanged, a silent guardian, ensuring their safety while withholding judgment. During a break in the dungeon, the party assembled to rest. That healer offered her aid, and Sao consented, unaware of how exposed their positioning had become. Their ritual, although intended for recovery, took on an intimate and questionable form. In the background, their guide observed in stunned silence. Conflicted and flustered, she struggled to process the sight unfolding before her. Though she held promise not to interfere, the display tested her patience and restraint. Ultimately, Sao re-emerged, refreshed and energized, the source of his power still a mystery to some. After another clash, Sao's ally boldly reported their success. Garuka observed from a distance, still incapable of identifying the real source of his force. As the party rotated through brief, intimate moments with him, Garuka grew overwhelmed. The man's stamina, both physical and otherwise, defied all expectations. Doubt crept in. The woman started to question whether what she was witnessing had any link to a legitimate ability at all. Later, the party regrouped around a fire. Sao greeted her casually, as though nothing peculiar had occurred. With forced composure, she chuckled it off, but her curiosity only deepened, curiosity getting the better of her. Garuka joked with Sao, asking if his peculiar power came from a hidden, unconventional talent. Surprised yet amused, he confessed her guess became accurate, although even he found it odd. The woman's smug expression displayed satisfaction at being the first to catch on. Eager to test his claim, she seized the pole-shaped armament he bore, questioning its mystery. Sao tensed at her sudden move. The result was immediate. A mighty force burst from the weapon, cracking the dungeon wall before them. That sound drew notice. Flustered, Sao awkwardly attempted to explain, while Garuka remained unfazed, only slightly impressed. As an foe charged without warning, Garuka hit it down mid-sentence, irritated by the interruption. Before they could regain their balance, the wall crumbled beneath them, sending her and Sao plunging into a hidden chamber below. The others fell rapidly into the darkness, encircled by fragments of shattered rock and dust. With sharp focus, Sao wrapped an arm around Garuka and activated his talent, launching a pole toward the surface to slow their descent. That makeshift lifeline caught hold. Hanging together mid-air, they narrowly avoided disaster, suspended between peril and escape. Clinging to the rope, Garuka expressed relief after their near fall. Though grateful, she cautioned that peril wasn't over yet. Their descent had landed them above a creature lair, its floor crawling with hostile centipedes and other beasts. Bats stirred as the creatures reacted, their escape route swiftly becoming a trap if they stayed suspended. Outnumbered and tense, Garuka assessed their odds. Sao leaned in, requesting permission to unleash his real force. Suspended above a fractured pit, Sao and his partner teetered on a fragile rope as hostile energy brewed below. Roused by falling debris, the creatures started to emerge. Among them seemed more than just mousespeeds. Larger, more aggressive beasts crawled into view, their movements sharp and alert. Without warning, a high-ranking chuspede lunged upward. Its jagged form pierced the wall, propelling it upward with terrifying speed. Above, dark wings sliced through the air. One swarm of combats descended, surrounding them in mid-ascent with no safe direction. From below, corrosive metal slugs oozed into the passage. Their acidic mucus melted stone, closing off retreat and neutralizing weapons. Surrounded by an overwhelming swarm of creatures, Sao recognized the odds were not anymore in his favor. With a concentrated gaze, he made a quiet decision. Calling out to Garuka, he inquired for assistance, knowing it proved the only viable option. Departed. The man turned with urgency, surprising her with a daring plea that shook her composure. There became no time for hesitation. Although puzzled, she chose to trust him. That two positioned themselves awkwardly, suspended together in midair, as tension built around them. Their contact triggered an unusual reaction. Sao's unique talent transformed the surge of physical energy into stored force, preparing him for the next move. Gathering his energy, Sao concentrated on a last strike. Drawing on the force accumulated from past encounters, he readied to unleash it all at once. One blinding surge erupted from his form, blasting through the swarm of foes. That enormous discharge swept the creatures away in every direction. Once the attack subsided, Sao and Garuka clung to the rock wall, drenched in sweat and breathless. Back on solid ground, Sao reassured his distant allies. The man's mission, however unusual, had always been to protect them no matter the cost. Elsewhere, one of his allies perked up, convinced she overheard his tone. Sao yelled back to his allies above, assuring them of his safety. Though still stuck in the pit, he promised to reunite with the party soon. Relieved by his words, the others shared a quiet instant. Their bond with Sao, especially Callie's, became clear to everyone present. The others chuckled off the tension. Trust in their comrade remained powerful, especially from the sister who believed profoundly in his survival. Down below, Sao considered a shortcut. Unfortunately, the pole in hand fell short of reaching the ledge, forcing them to seek another route. As they pressed forward, Sao stumbled, weakened by exertion. Garuka caught him mid-fall, concerned. Caught in a close embrace, Sao apologized for his clumsiness. Garuka grinned softly, accepting him regardless of her own insecurities about femininity. The others came across valuable creature remains, but lacked a way to carry them. Still, she reminded him to be careful. Their journey became meant to be low stress, and she couldn't bear to face others if he got hurt. Deeper into the cavern, they discovered an unfamiliar area. Despite having visited many times, this path had never unveiled itself before. Sao credited Garuka for the discovery, grateful for her presence. She came back the smile, their connection growing stronger with each step into the unknown. That tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Sao and Garuka remained in awe, noting how unusually spacious the corridor had become. As they strode, remnants of enormous insect nests unveiled themselves. Garuka clarified these were once home to ants, giant creatures that had assisted the dungeon's ecosystem. However, the creatures had vanished overnight without a trace. That mystery of their disappearance lingered in the air. Unanswered, gentle light shimmered from above. Fireflies drifted in the chamber, casting a dreamlike glow across the walls. Abruptly, the swarm shifted direction. What seemed peaceful now flew straight toward them, and both instinctively braced for the unknown. As the glowing fireflies surged toward them, Sao instinctively shielded Garuka, although the creatures simply passed by without harm. The others collapsed in relief, laughing off the scare. Despite the harmless outcome, neither became eager to encounter more unusual creatures anytime soon. Their compose didn't last. From the depths of the cave, an enormous insectoid creature emerged, its enormous limbs dragging through the corridor with unsettling weight. That sight froze them. Sao murmured ideas salt, maybe pesticide, while Garuka wondered whether she became cursed by bugs. Looming closer, the beast's form became clear. This was no ordinary encounter. Real peril had reached, and the dungeon's deadliest guardian now stopped their path. Deep within the dungeon, the adventurers confronted an enormous insect-like creature blocking their path. Its size rendered conventional methods useless. They cautiously observed the beast, astonished such an enormous creature had gone undetected until now beneath the dungeon's depths. Abruptly, the creature released a thick, cloudy discharge that burst forward, forcing both of them to shield their faces. Caught in the cloud, they struggled to breathe. As the mist cleared, two familiar, shell-armored figures emerged from the haze. Recognizing their recurring foes, the pair readied themselves. That timing was terrible, but retreat was not anymore an option. Surrounded by unusual pod-like objects, the pair found themselves caught in a blinding explosion. Cracks split the hard shells. Garuka staggered as the thick gas filled the chamber. The woman's breathing grew shallow, her legs weakening beneath her. Alarmed, the man hurried to her side, calling her name. Garuka's movements became unsteady, her expression vacant and unfocused. Without warning, she lunged at him. That haze in her gaze deepened as she climbed over him, plainly overtaken by impulse. Confused and pinned, the man recognized the fog might contain an aphrodisiac. Garuka's reaction confirmed his terror as he struggled underneath her. In a haze of desperation, the two succumbed to instinct, using their bodies to resist the fog's thoughts-altering effects. Afterward, she regained clarity, sitting beside him with a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. The others exchanged a few honest words. Moments later, a rumble echoed through the chamber. The enormous creature came back, devouring nearby insect corpses with chilling ease. Recognition hit this beast became no ordinary threat. Its tactics and poison aligned with stories of a calamity-class predator. Legends murmured of a creature that once obliterated a city. The others now understood that identical nightmare had awakened beneath the dungeon. Without delay, the enormous creature surged forward, its enormous form crushing everything in its path as it closed the distance. That dungeon trembled violently under the creature's advance, rocks falling as the walls threatened to give way. Elsewhere inside the dungeon, a group of adventurers waited anxiously, sensing the disturbance and growing increasingly uneasy. Abruptly, a figure descended from above, gathering the party together as the ground beneath them shattered. In a blinding blast, they seemed launched outward, escaping the collapsing dungeon exactly when destruction swallowed the depths behind them. After the explosive escape, the party landed safely, thanks to quick thinking and a bit of cushioning magic. Relief swept over them. From the mist, Sao emerged, unharmed but plainly exhausted. Recognizing familiar voices, he called out and approached the reunited team. The man's return sparked teasing. While they endured chaos, it seemed he found his own entertainment, much to their dismay. Before he could explain, a thick fog started to creep in. Panic rose as he cautioned the others of its peril. Too late, that fog had already taken hold. Their flushed faces and dazed expressions confirmed the worst the gas held spread again. With their judgment clouded by the fog, the girls overwhelmed Sao in a frenzy of affection, clinging tightly to him. The others closed in without restraint. Sao, struggling beneath their advances, could barely speak through the chaos of unexpected affection. Guruka spotted the centipede advancing and raised her armament. With time running out, she readied to knock the others unconscious. Just as she swung, Sao stopped her strike, gripping the armament with urgency. The man's resistance startled her. Fueled by determination, he called upon his force. He would not let the fog or terror take control, not now. Sao held firm, declaring his resolve with a mighty cry. That girls froze, hit by his determination. Their expressions shifted from confusion to readiness. Each one moved ahead, equipped and concentrated. One sudden realization struck them. Their attire had been altered to revealing bikini armor, causing a brief instant of disbelief. Despite the shock, Sao clarified the armor's goal. Though minimal, it proved enchanted for protection, and they held no choice but to clash in it. That women remained in shock as their outfits changed, revealing daring and skimpy designs. Sao, facing a monstrous foe, unveiled his creation, declaring the armor as his newest strategy. He claimed it proved built specifically to counter the creature's lethal poison. The man held firm, explaining that 4 had already fallen. That armor, he insisted, became his heartfelt invention to shield his allies from further harm. While grateful, the women struggled with embarrassment, questioning the armor's indecent design. Now clad in full suits again, they observed Sao silently. Doubts lingered, but his sincerity became undeniable. Though flustered by the armor's effects, the girls slowly recognized the force flowing through them. Despite his awkwardness, Sao's intention to protect became finally recognized. With resolve, the party confronted the looming threat. Standing united, they ready to strike down the enormous spider ahead. Abruptly, a swarm of smaller creatures emerged. Sao cautioned of their confusing abilities, but the fighters remained composed and resolved. Dawn Girl moved ahead, refusing to be shielded any longer. The woman proclaimed her readiness and advanced ahead with quiet confidence. Channeling divine energy, she performed a holy dance. That foes started to falter under her spell. That priestess maintained control over the swarm, her dance spreading a calming aura. The woman's magic was precise, pacifying the creatures rather than destroying them outright. Without delay, the mage unleashed a towering column of fire. The woman's spell scorched the path ahead, launching an enormous spider backward. That girls pressed forward, encouraged by each other's power. They recognized the odd armor's effectiveness in boosting their force, regardless of its looks. Sao offered another teammate the enchanted gear, taken by surprise. She resisted briefly, flustered by the sudden proposition. Ultimately, she agreed to the role. Fully equipped, the fresh warrior stepped forth, set to clash. With intense momentum, the fresh warrior unleashed her technique. Blades danced in all directions as she performed the mighty Shichi Tenbatsu. From a distance, the others observed anxiously. One enormous impact trailed her strike, shaking the ground as her blow landed. Relief became short-lived. Despite the damage, the spider's severed head remained intact, towering like a building and still very much alive. To their horror, the beast started absorbing its own poison, recharging itself with lethal energy. The team watched, stunned. Abruptly, its form convulsed violently. That creature thrashed uncontrollably, entering a berserk frenzy. As the monstrous form shook the cavern, panic started to rise. The party understood that if it went entirely berserk, escape would be impossible. Chaos intensified as the creature's severed head started crawling away. Its sheer size posed a devastating threat to the surface city. Determined not to let it flee, Sao braced himself. Thoughts of the townspeople gave him renewed focus and urgency. The man launched a daring move, firing a hooked line toward the beast's core. The man's grip gripped firm as he signaled the others to prepare. Everyone mounted the hook line together, swords drawn and hearts united. They surged forward for one last strike. Sao yelled the signal as Bloom prepared her magic. With their formation steady, the party charged toward the target, trusting each other's timing. That combined blast erupted midair. Bloom's firestorm tore through the foe's core, setting the giant centipede ablaze from within. As the flames cleared, another strike trailed. That lead warrior delivered a 6P trident, piercing forward with the full might of their synchronized assault. That explosion launched them skyward, while recovering. The team recognized the creature held fallen, but now they seemed soaring out of control. Ultimately, they landed safely. From a hilltop, they gazed at the peaceful city below, silent and pleased. Laughter echoed across the summit as the newest warrior expressed pure joy. For her, this chaotic, thrilling climb became a first, and it held concluded in triumph. The others assembled around the enormous fallen beast. One tone commended them all for clearing the challenge and reaching the top floor of the tower. Celebration broke out, but one question lingered: how long would they need to remain in the peculiar, revealing armor? That answer became uncertain. With the armor fueled by Sao's force, they could only wait for its energy to fade. That day, unusual echoes filled the city below, an unforgettable end to their outrageous victory. Days after the fight, Sao met with Whip at the royal school. The woman commended his excellent results during the field exercise. While expressing gratitude, Sao grew nervous under her intense gaze. The woman wondered his motive for visiting. Feeling uneasy, he attempted to leave. Before he could escape, she restrained him with a whip, halting his steps. Without delay, she made a daring demand. Stunned, Sao froze, unsure how to respond. Dragged into a private chamber, Sao found himself bound and confronted by a serious woman with a daring demand that stunned him entirely. Rather than explaining, she steadily proclaimed her keen interest in him, her gaze sharp and unflinching. The woman then produced a report, holding it up with pointed intent. It detailed peculiar battle techniques labeled as pole master skills. Unbeknownst to him, Garuka had been silently observing his fieldwork, compiling an unexpected record of his capabilities. Though flustered, Sao attempted to laugh it off as she coolly confirmed his abilities, pointing out his rod-based powers with clinical precision. With unwavering conviction, the woman proclaimed her pursuit of the unknown, affirming that her role as a scholar demanded relentless curiosity. Standing firm, she justified her intense focus on Sao's abilities, explaining that studying unique jobs like pole master became vital to understanding humanity's development. Leaning closer, she challenged him directly, demanding to know why he held concealed such uncommon abilities. Faced with pressure, Sao panicked. That terror of exposure gripped him as visions of losing his potential harem and being expelled flashed before his gaze. Determined to protect his mystery, he resolved to suppress his powers and focus inward, hiding everything from his ever-watchful instructor. After an instant's pause, the woman dismissed the tension and insisted on confirming his abilities through direct observation. Soon after, they reached at the Academy's training area, a space designed for honing abilities and testing magical techniques. Preparing to demonstrate, Sao reassured himself that his most questionable powers remained unmentioned. With no motive to hold back, he moved ahead. The man launched his rod at the target. That tool pierced cleanly, its function instantly drawing the woman's analytical notice. The woman examined it curiously, questioning how it hardened and behaved as though infused with magic, her interest growing more intense. Sao reacted abruptly when the rod became pressed underfoot. Flustered, he insisted it proved a reflex. Although his expression betrayed embarrassment, when wondered about the tool's name, he struggled to explain its function, describing its hardness as temporary and useful in specific conditions. Asked to demonstrate the beam attack, Sao assumed an unusual stance. Focused, he started charging energy through his armament, claiming it allowed greater release. That mentor observed curiously, noting the friction and light generated. Caught mid-demonstration, Sao hesitated. The woman wondered his embarrassment, but he urged her not to overanalyze, plainly uncomfortable with her close observation. Sao finally unleashed his beam attack, channeling raw energy with a mighty outburst that departed even him visibly shaken. Examining the aftermath, the woman noted the sheer destructive force, her curiosity now fully engaged by the level of damage inflicted. Though fatigued, Sao attempted to rest. The woman dismissed his weariness and pressed him to now demonstrate his defensive capabilities. To his shock, she unveiled a towering armored figure, identifying it as the tool meant for testing his detoxification and form-strengthening abilities. The woman clarified the device's lethal function, a poison-filled torture machine known as Poison Maiden, designed to push his limits. As the woman struggled to unlock the rusted device, Sao grew anxious, calculating the peril if he seemed thrown inside while powerless. Spotting an opportunity, he attempted a quiet escape while her notice was elsewhere, hoping to avoid the lethal test. Abruptly, the woman was hit with discomfort and rested down, fumbling with her clothing in visible irritation. That timing grew worse as she stumbled, causing Sao to react awkwardly as both attempted to maintain composure in a confusing instant. Before he could recover, the armor slammed shut, its components scattering across the floor, forcing Sao to refocus instantly. Panic surged as the armor sealed shut. Sao attempted to open it, but the mechanism would not budge. A faint hiss trailed the gas had begun to leak, confirming the peril inside was very genuine. Realizing what had happened, Sao yelled for his instructor, terror overtaking his earlier hesitation. Without delay, he gripped her discarded robe and steeled himself. Understanding he held no time departed to think. With resolve, Sao hurled himself against the poison device, abandoning his inner peace to force it open and rescue the one inside. Emerging from the armor, the mentor remained transformed, now wearing a revealing outfit unfamiliar even to her. Surprised, she recognized the poison gas had been neutralized, but wondered the unusual change in clothing. Sao confessed responsibility, explaining that the effect became a side outcome of his unique talent. The woman pressed him to confirm if this was truly his force. Grasping his hands, she complimented the ability as something uncommon, observing the peculiar sensation with admiration. Though impressed, she remained resolved to uncover the complete scope of Sao's mysterious job and its hidden functions. Without delay, the mentor demanded a direct demonstration of Sao's stamina recovery skill, catching him entirely off guard with the request. Sao remained startled as his instructor cornered him, demanding to see a stamina recovery technique he held been hiding. The woman's interest wasn't casual, it proved targeted, deliberate. The woman unveiled her knowledge came from a report, one that described how Sao's ability replenished stamina, not only for him but also for his partner. The woman's doubts had turned to curiosity. Though hesitant, she couldn't accept being denied what another held already witnessed. With conviction, she claimed the act to be noble, essential even. Speaking of it as a fundamental element of human nature, though misunderstood, she clarified her stance. The woman did not hate intimacy, only those who abandoned responsibility afterward. That woman's expression turned cold as she murmured under her breath, trying to mask her real feelings. A painful memory surfaced. She recalled her past, when she had once believed in the wrong man, a selfish manipulator who viewed women as conquests. The man's fate was grim, vanished by the wrath of those he wronged. From that experience, resentment grew. The woman confessed her inability to judge men well and her anger toward foolish behavior. Despite her stern words, she recognized Sao's potential, softly touching his head and offering reluctant praise. With newfound respect, she recognized his growing influence and the trust others placed in him. Recalling a recent instant of weakness, the woman recognized Sao's effort to stand and help regardless of his drained energy. Curious, she observed him closely and removed a garment, revealing a strip of dark cloth with deliberate intent. That reality emerged. Sao had secretly drawn force from her pantyhose to fuel his abilities, surprising them both. Suspicion turned to demand. The woman accused him of hiding more and insisted that everything be unveiled now. Taking control of the circumstance, she restrained him assuredly, preparing to test the truth behind his peculiar ability. The woman's analysis became precise. She concluded the stamina ability activated through arousal, a discovery both bizarre and impressive. Observing his form react, she confirmed a surge of energy flowing through him, the talent plainly genuine. Intrigued, she proposed further testing. Despite the odd method, she pressed on, curious to see the full effect. As the test escalated, their bodies intertwined with unrestrained intensity, proving the ability's force in unmistakable fashion. Later, with the instant past, Sao reflected silently, never expecting his reincarnated life would earn him the title of pole master. That instructor found herself genuinely impressed. Despite her doubts, Sao pressed on to exceed expectations in unexpected ways. Around him, the girls seemed already drawn in. Each held their own reasons, but all concluded up close, both physically and emotionally, seated together under a kotatsu. They shared warmth, though seemingly innocent. The instant bore undertones of deeper intent from Sao's perspective. Grateful for the knowledge brought from his previous life, he silently celebrated his invention's unintended benefits as the atmosphere grew heavier. But the cozy composed swiftly spiraled into chaos when the kotatsu flipped, exposing tangled limbs, stunned faces, and a sudden loss of control. After regaining her composure, the instructor addressed the party solemnly, explaining she had come to deliver urgent news. Without a word, she placed a sealed envelope on the table, its elegant crest hinting at its significance. Curious gaze assembled around. That pupils assumed it proved a personal invitation, perhaps to a casual event at her home. But her response stunned them. It proved no ordinary gathering. The others were invited to a formal palace banquet. The woman clarified the motive. Their achievements had earned recognition. Even pupils this time seemed worthy of joining the nobles' year-end celebration. Wondered aloud who could have personally arranged such a formal invitation sealed with elegance. That answer came swiftly. The letter had been sent by the queen herself, the highest authority in the land. Lounging assuredly in her chambers, the queen observed with amusement, plainly interested in those she had summoned.
Cao remained before the mirror, adjusting his formal suit with slight hesitation. That castle invitation held caught him off guard, and the grandeur of the event weighed on his thoughts. Outside the chamber, two women awaited him in elegant gowns. Their beauty startled him, but he succeeded in greeting them with charm and light teasing. Drawing closer, he murmured genuine admiration. Seeing them dressed like royalty fulfilled a personal wish he never voiced before. Embraced by both women, Cao basked in their warmth, tempted by the instant. Despite the passion, duty called. They headed to the queen's castle. Two fresh guests reached in striking dresses, one poised and confident, the other visibly irritated but elegant in her own right. Bloom stepped beside Cao, sharing a light exchange before he admired her transformation with genuine approval. Laughter filled the air as Moa flustered under compliments, encircled by the others in a playful sight on the grass. One fanciful daydream took over Cao, imagined carrying all four women at once, overwhelmed by affection and amusement. As the party assembled together, a new tone echoed through the chamber, confirming the arrival of every invited guest. The strict mentor reached in a striking black dress, silencing the party with a glare. The woman reminded them of the school's dignity, keeping her whip at the ready. As they approached the grand venue, she reminded them that the queen's invitation became an uncommon honor, especially for first years. Under a star-filled sky, the castle loomed with majestic presence, awaiting its guests. Inside, the ballroom dazzled with elegance. Cao, usually brave in fight, now sensed uneasy amidst nobles and high society. That unease swiftly broke as one ally sprinted to the buffet. Gaze locked on unfamiliar dishes. Wone's swift reprimand echoed across the chamber as a whip cracked down, punishing improper table manners. Tension rose instantly. From the shadows, a tone sneered at their behavior, mocking their status and suggesting they retreat before disgrace deepened. That source unveiled himself a sharply dressed man with a curled mustache and exaggerated demeanor. Recognition spread Sapapan, a notorious upper-year educator, with arrogance. He introduced himself and criticized their lack of academic presence, dismissing them as unremarkable. Puffing with pride, Sapapan proclaimed himself the elite guide for top pupils, basking in his self-importance before the uneasy crowd. Sapapan remained boldly, introducing the elite group behind him as chosen representatives of the academy, expecting admiration. The man's colleague wondered the fairness of their presence, hinting that his pupils were pre-selected and favored since youth. That comment hit a nerve. Sapapan bristled, accusing her of speaking out of turn and class arrogance, while she countered with a composed jab at his noble connections. Undeterred, he claimed that results alone justified their presence, challenging her to raise better pupils if she dared. Unshaken, she held firm beside her group. Sapapan, gritting his teeth, conceded for now. Wen's shadowed gaze loomed over the party, astonished that the queen had taken a personal interest in them. Sapapan, now shifting tone, claimed he simply gripped them to high standards, implying praise, although veiled with condescension. The man reminded them their academic paths would ultimately fall under his supervision, asserting his inevitable influence. With a sly grin, he extended invitations to only two members, Bloom and staff, promising them seats at his seminar. Confusion trailed. The mentor steadily clarified Sapapan favored nobility. The man's doctrine was clear: bloodline mattered more than merit. Sapapan's seminar operated under a strict rule: only nobles seemed permitted. The man's curriculum strayed far from common educational values. Using his authority, he obstructed other pupils' chances year after year, ensuring only his favored few advanced. That party recognized his bias had excluded them from the beginning. Only the nobles held his notice and plans. Despite the divide, staff would not accept it. The woman's loyalty to the others remained firm, rejecting any privileged path, however, considered the offer. Though wary, curiosity stirred. Perhaps even someone like Sapapan held something to teach. Bloom's fury ignited when Moa became overlooked. The man's jealousy turned comical, imagining revenge on Sapapan's mustache. Yet Moa remained composed. Recognition from her master mattered more than any noble's approval. Bloom, unwillingly, backed down. Grateful and overwhelmed, their ally embraced both warmly. Flushed faces and mutual affection calmed the rising tension. From the sidelines, murmurs of discontent spread. Some wondered how such a prejudiced man still gripped force within the academy, but the answer became bitter: his position was secure. Challenging him, they recognized, would be more trouble than expected. That grand doors opened as the chamber fell silent.
All notice turned toward the shadowy figure stepping through. Queen Leviatane emerged in full regal presence, known as the strongest in the country. Her arrival marked a turning point. Queen Leviatane remained before the assembled nobles, her gaze commanding as she descended the grand staircase. The woman's presence alone silenced the chamber. Whispers spread through the crowd as they recognized her. Despite being born a woman, she earned the throne through talent, not birthright. The woman's reign brought change. Commoners, once barred from elite institutions, now held opportunities thanks to the queen's reforms. The woman became a symbol of power, defending the kingdom from creatures and crises, earning respect from all classes. At the royal ball, guests assembled around her, drawn to her grace, while others waited nervously for their turn. As others waited anxiously, one girl eagerly approached the banquet table, oblivious to the pressure of the event. She dove into the food without delay, savoring every bite while her ally observed with quiet concern. Laughing at the instant, he attempted to stay composed, but her carefree attitude departed him unsure how to respond. Abruptly, Queen Leviatane emerged before him, curious about the newcomer she had overheard so much about. Realizing his mistake, he dropped to his knees, overwhelmed by panic, and begged forgiveness for his casual behavior. The queen softly halted the youth from kneeling, reminding him that formalities could wait during a joyful feast. Amused by his panic, she joked with the party with a lighthearted tone, prompting a flustered reaction from their instructor. With warmth and familiarity, she commended their progress, even while playfully scolding the stiff instructor who trembled under notice. Taking the lead, the queen poured drinks herself, encouraging everyone to relax and enjoy the banquet she held arranged. As cups seemed raised, names were exchanged, and bonds silently formed over laughter and shared stories from the academy. The queen agreed to a glass with a smile, complimenting the youthful nobles for the power she sensed in them. Abruptly, a boastful mentor approached, eager to present his pupils and shower the queen with dramatic flattery. The man advanced swiftly to gather them, questioning why others were receiving such favorable notice. In response, the queen steadily reminded him of the pupil's heroic achievement, defeating a lethal creature in the labyrinth. Facing her directly, he listened as she emphasized their courage, highlighting how they shielded the kingdom and earned rightful praise. As the queen addressed the mentor, she wondered whether academic scores alone were proof of a pupil's worth. That man stammered, defending his pupil's potential, but she brought up troubling reports, graduates linked to assault, drugs, and coercion. Taken by surprise, he fumbled his cup as the queen steadily noted that she was informed of every misconduct connected to his seminar. The woman tightened her grip on the bottle, letting the liquid spill, posing a warning: not all flowers that bloom bear good fruit. Eyes fixed on him, her tone turned cold. The woman demanded an answer. How was he truly educating those under his care? The mentor's urgency, instructing him to leave if he couldn't wait his turn. With a flick, she turned the wine bottle into a glass marble, a quiet display of overwhelming control. Panicking, he yelled that his pupils held long awaited her presence, his tone turning desperate as he called her aunt. The woman didn't turn around. Instead, she coldly wondered if his pupils seemed incapable of the most basic patience, comparing their behavior to animals. When he attempted to speak again, her gaze narrowed. The woman's tone cut through him. She would not repeat herself. With the chamber watching, the queen turned away in disappointment. As the man strode away, murmurs passed through the crowd. That queen confirmed he became her nephew, acknowledging his royal lineage. That others speculated that the queen's invitation might have been a calculated move to curb his unchecked authority at the academy. However, she turned her focus back to the pupils, expressing that her real motive for the banquet was to meet them in person. With sincerity, she thanked them for saving the city and defending its people, recognizing their quiet courage. Embarrassed by the praise, the pupils lowered their heads. They confessed their actions were unplanned, merely doing what sensed right in the instant. The queen, plainly amused, commended the pupils for their reliability, expressing anticipation for their future contributions. Nearby, one of the girls, now full from the feast, casually stretched. Her peers softly joked with her, calling her the one with the biggest pride of them all. Meanwhile, one pupil dashed through the palace corridors, urgently seeking a restroom. With his business done, he recognized he hadn't paid notice to the path. That long, identical corridors now stretched endlessly in all directions. As he wandered in confusion, voices echoed faintly. The man paused, questioning if someone was nearby. The youthful man wandered deeper into the palace halls, puzzled and slightly concerned that the banquet might have concluded without him. Hearing a faint tone, he turned toward a corridor. It seemed someone else might be lost too, or so he wished. Following the sound, he pushed open a huge ornate entrance and stepped cautiously into an unfamiliar chamber. That mysterious woman turned her head and talked softly, as though expecting him. The woman's presence was composed, yet commanding, to his shock. it proved the queen. Reclining gracefully, she inquired him to help her with her dress, her tone serene and suggestive as the atmosphere shifted surprisingly. The man froze in astonishment, face flushed with confusion. The queen's gaze locked onto him, silent and unwavering in its intent. Drawn into the royal chambers by a personal summons, Cao remained hesitantly before the queen. Reclining with poise, she requested help with her dress, incapable of reach the laces herself. Without waiting for his answer, she invited him closer. Though nervous, he moved ahead, masking his tension with a formal stance. The man reached for the ribbons, his fingers fumbling at first before finding rhythm. That queen remained still, letting him work with concentrated care. Each loosened thread unveiled more of the elegant fabric structure. The woman leaned softly into him, offering no resistance. That dress finally gave way. Eyes wide, Cao stared, breath caught by the sight before him. As the gown slipped to the floor, Cao remained speechless. That queen turned with composed grace, her posture elegant and unbothered. The woman reclined without delay, her confidence unshaken. Amused by his stunned expression, she joked with him playfully. The queen unveiled knowledge of Cao's peculiar abilities, speaking openly about rumors surrounding his class. Cao remained seated, unsure how to respond. Rather than ridicule, she offered encouragement, telling him to embrace his role and improve his talent for the kingdom's sake. Curious, she reached for him. Despite her experience, it proved her first encounter with a pole master. That queen reflected on her past freedom, longing for adventure beyond the castle walls. Cao, humbled by her openness, wondered whether it proved right to stand at her side. In response, he boldly offered his company. With unexpected enthusiasm, he unveiled his readiness, drawing a pleased smile from the queen. Turning away, she shed her royal presence briefly, revealing a quiet reality beneath her crown. She was still just a woman. Outside, shadows advanced through the halls. Something or someone approached, hidden in silence. One hand reached for the entrance as another gripped a blade. Inside, neither of them understood peril became moments away. Just as compose started to settle, masked intruders slipped into the chamber with silent footsteps. The queen and Cao remained unaware briefly longer. Drawing blades, the assassins crept closer. Their movements seemed coordinated, their intent unmistakable. The queen, noticing them finally, glared with annoyance. The woman rested upright, more irritated than frightened. One assassin proclaimed their mission to take her life. That queen ridiculed him, but Cao swiftly stepped in, halting her with a single word. Now standing firm, Cao addressed the intruders with a chilling smile, daring them to prepare instead for their own end. In the darkness of the royal chamber, masked assassins encircled the queen's bed, declaring their intent to take her life. Before they could strike, a silver-haired man emerged beside the queen, unbothered by their presence, his composed demeanor masking lethal intent. He rose from the bed, shielding the queen, and informed her to stand back, taking charge of the circumstance regardless of his lack of armor or weapons. He recognized the intruder's ability, recognizing their talent to infiltrate the castle, yet displayed no hesitation in facing them unarmed. That lead assassin, unfazed, ready to strike, warning the man that he would be removed by force. Won's swift movement caught him off guard as concealed weapons shot through the air toward him. One of the masked assassins launched a strike, but his expression shifted in shock before he could land the blow. Calmly rising, the man unveiled his own unique armament, drawing the foe's notice with a bold display of confidence and readiness. Blades flew again, yet he stopped them using his armament steady and composed under pressure. As enemies leapt at him from all sides, he held firm, ready to face the onslaught with unwavering determination. That masked assassins lunged again, but their coordination became broken. The man tightened his grip, gaze burning with resolve, declaring it proved now his turn. Without delay, he activated a mystery technique. The enormous bed began spinning violently, sweeping everything in its radius, like a cyclone of feathers, blades, and limbs. Thrown off balance, the attackers tumbled uncontrollably through the air, incapable of resist the sheer force of the spinning strike. As the chamber settled, he remained assuredly atop the bed, declaring his dominance. That few remaining foes staggered, visibly shaken, though several escaped. He reassured the queen. One foe remained behind, and she steadily suggested they question him instead. As silence came back to the chamber, the queen slowly took her seat, her gaze locked on the man who had just shielded her life. Rather than offer a plain reward, she extended an invitation laced with deeper meaning. The man's expression softened, touched by the offer. One hint of emotion emerged as he grinned, flattered by the queen's words. Yet, regardless of her warmth, he bowed low and declined with sincere formality. That weight of a deeper responsibility gripped him back, bound by an oath to another. He clarified, he couldn't betray a sacred pact between master and retainer. Guilt flickered in his gaze as he inquired for forgiveness. That queen studied him in silence, her gaze sharp. She remarked that regardless of his pride and restraint, he still emerged like a man of powerful desires. With a flick of her fingers, she cautioned him not to take her words lightly. Understanding her sincerity, he made a playful suggestion, asking to be treated as an adventuring ally instead. She agreed to the idea, recognizing his honesty. As tension faded, the two drew close again. The man softly embraced her, suggesting they continue their adventure in a different way. Before anything more could happen, the entrance burst open. Armored guards stormed in, reporting an intrusion, without warning. Guards turned on the man who held shielded the queen just minutes ago. Before he could explain, he became thrown into a cell, puzzled and still naked. That heavy clang of the bars echoed, marking his sudden fall from hero to prisoner. News of his arrest swiftly spread. Shocked by the accusation, his allies protested, knowing full well he held risked everything to defend the queen. At a royal meeting, one woman recalled his odd disappearance the previous night. While some wondered his nature, others passionately defended him. The others insisted he was too foolish and lust-driven to be a killer, descending into the dungeon. The queen assured her attendants that she believed in his innocence. Inside, chaos stirred. Sao's name echoed in panic as a royal guard captain remained ready. The man's fiery temper erupted as he threatened violence. That women observing the sight couldn't help but comment on the irony how swiftly roles had reversed. With hesitant steps, one of the girls approached the cell and unlocked it. But exactly when he believed he was rescued, she betrayed him with a smile. Turning to the queen, she requested that this shameless pervert be imprisoned for eternity. That queen chose to leave the situation in Sao's hands and readied to move on, trusting him to handle what came next. Behind one of the cells, they found a restrained woman and assassin captured during the earlier attack. Now gripped in chains, with a sharp gaze, the queen commanded Sao to interrogate the prisoner instantly. Inside a stone prison, Sao became brought before a cell where a lone prisoner was restrained. Chained and silent, the masked woman glared fiercely, showing no hint of submission. The woman's presence alone unveiled she was no ordinary prisoner, an assassin, captured in mystery. The woman's compact frame hid a hardened, muscular build. That noblewoman cautioned Sao not to judge her based on appearance alone. Recognition struck as they confirmed her ties to the Assassin Guild, an elusive group that operated from the shadows. According to the noblewoman, such operatives seemed trained to withstand torture. Their bodies, hardened through savage conditioning, seemed more beast than human. That noblewoman handed control of the interrogation to Sao, instructing him to extract the ringleader's name without using pain. The woman's tone bore amusement rather than urgency. Sao hesitantly trailed orders, flustered by the peculiar method. Meanwhile, the prisoner remained unbothered, mocking him with sharp remarks. Onlookers observed with mixed reactions. Despite the effort, she would not speak, defiantly asserting her silence. One of the women nearby wondered Sao's unusual enthusiasm, fueled by pride. The assassin lashed out verbally, ashamed to have been caught by someone she deemed frail. Sao remained motionless as she ridiculed him, daring him to act. The woman's taunts only fueled the tension between them. Rather than step forward, Sao activated a fresh talent, declaring he didn't need to approach. The man's composed tone clashed with the prisoner's rage-filled threats. With a profound breath, he released the ability called Love Pheromone. One soft aura radiated from his form, catching the assassin off guard. The woman's form trembled. Confusion turned into a sudden loss of composure as the effect took hold faster than expected. Witnesses observed in astonishment as the assassin's resistance crumbled. The woman started to confess, overwhelmed by the unexpected sensation. Between shaky breaths, she unveiled her name, Dark. Sao steadily recognized it, his talent proving surprisingly effective. After extracting the information, Sao stepped back, signaling he had assembled what became required, though she would be imprisoned. The noblewoman noted her craving for more would serve as its own punishment. Sao promised to visit occasionally. Concerns started shifting toward Sao himself. The man's unusual force sparked unease, prompting talk of keeping him restrained just in case. One guard reached with a report. Sao received clothes and was reminded he remained under suspicion, regardless of recent success. Moments later, he became summoned for a private audience. That noblewoman led him away, her tone unreadable as they disappeared behind the doors. Inside the grand audience chamber, Sao trailed the noblewoman as two men knelt before the throne, already present for an urgent matter. That queen's attendants identified one of the visitors as Sepapan, a noble and relative of the queen. Rising to speak, Sepapan expressed exaggerated concern over recent threats, claiming he acted out of loyalty for the queen's safety. The man's words were soon echoed by the other man, named Lespar, who confirmed he had also come upon hearing of the palace infiltration. Alispar bowed profoundly, addressing the queen with sincere admiration, calling her a maternal figure. He expressed heartfelt relief at her well-being. Lelspar turned his notice to Sao, asking if he became a fresh servant. The queen swiftly clarified his identity. With pride, she introduced Sao as her savior, not a mere subordinate. That declaration departed both men stunned. Sapopin, still skeptical, wondered Sao's involvement, suspecting a hidden motive. That queen steadfastly vouched for his loyalty. Impressed by Sao's character, Lespar offered him a position in the chivalric order. However, Sao politely declined, stating he already served someone. Despite potential backlash, Lespar defended Sao's worth. The man vowed to silence any criticism personally, honoring the youthful man's actions and loyalty. Sapopin attempted to steer the discussion back to the assassination plot. That queen responded with a composed philosophy: merit outweighed status. The woman's gaze sharpened as she wondered Sapopin's interest, making him visibly nervous under her scrutiny. She ordered the investigation to proceed with utmost secrecy, emphasizing the need for pressed-on vigilance within the palace. Elspar recognized her command and expressed relief at her good health. Both men consented to keep the incident confidential until a formal report became complete. Before leaving, Lespar deflected any assumptions of ambition, claiming he became unready for succession. Sapopin awkwardly consented, plainly pressured by the circumstance. As the guests departed, the queen issued a last warning: more assassins might still be lurking, and vigilance remained essential. Privately, she voiced doubts about Sapopin's sincerity. Though both nephews acted loyal, she confessed even charming words could be deceptive. Since she held no heirs, the throne would ultimately pass to one of the two. Leaning close, the queen made a personal request. The woman inquired Sao to uncover the identity of the ringleader behind the attack. Sao recalled Dark's confession. While vague, she hinted that the real leader belonged to the noble faction. Although she lacked a name, that queen showed that Sapopin belonged to the noble faction, confirming Sao's growing suspicions. Without delay, she tasked Sao with investigating Sapopin's background and possible ties to the ringleader. Elsewhere, Sapopin rested alone, irritated and tense. The man muttered complaints about Sao, plainly unsettled by the sudden notice drawn to him. That queen summoned Sao with a serious request to uncover the real force behind Sapopin's attempted assassination. Gasps trailed as she named a suspect connected to the royal family, an aging figure whose status held shielded him for years. Rather than relying on someone within her court, the queen placed her trust in Sao, valuing his ability and independence above political ties. Though astonished by the weight of the task, Sao agreed to the praise. His sincerity noted, even among those with far darker intentions. With quiet resolve, he agreed to the mission. The man's allies offered encouragement, one stepping forward to protect their charge while he ventured forth. Before Sao departed, the youthful noblewoman clung to him, declaring he must always return to her side. Torn between the queen's command and the girl's feelings, Sao listened as she confessed her terror of losing him to the royal guard due to his power. Promising his loyalty, Sao assured her he'd return after his mission. Later, at the school gates, he spotted Sapopin leaving, disguised and waiting. He readied to follow silently as the aged man departed. Perched above, Sao observed with suspicion. Doubts crept in. Perhaps his past indulgences seemed finally catching up to him through this twisted assignment. Sao pressed on his covert tailing, observing Sapopin dining alone at a high-end restaurant. Following him to a florist next, Sao noted details: head instructor for 8 years, married but childless. The man's composed routine didn't match the suspicions around him, though outwardly refined. Sapopin's cold reaction toward a common florist betrayed arrogance. Something deeper and unsettled stirred behind his composed FAA. Instead of heading home, Sapopin diverted surprisingly. Sao's instincts flared: there existed plainly more to uncover. Curiosity led him to a mysterious building. As Sapopin stepped into Yoru no Tobari, a discreet nightclub, Sao recognized the case had just taken a darker turn. Inside the lavish nightclub, Sao took a seat, feeling out of place. Though already in another world, this unfamiliar environment sensed like stepping into yet another realm entirely. Meanwhile, Sapopin presented a bouquet to another woman, Popin Chan, a hostess he seemed profoundly fond of. Sao silently observed. The woman was striking, but he wondered whether Sapopin would risk so much for someone of common status. Before he could process more, Sapopin addressed him directly, thanking him cryptically for a past night. Suspicion grew in Sao's thoughts. That woman receiving Sapopin's notice might be more than a mere hostess, perhaps even an accomplice in the banquet incident. Curious, he inquired about her identity. Sheena unveiled she became Risa, the club's most sought-after hostess. That following evening, Risa became requested. The woman's graceful presence astonished Sao, but this was the instant he'd been waiting for. Introduction seemed made. Sao played the part of a captivated guest, but his real goal became to learn her connection to Sapopin. Their exchange remained polite, yet layered. Risa hinted at her status, while Sao subtly navigated toward the reality. Risa leaned in, guiding Sao's hand with surprising boldness. The woman's confidence stunned him, leaving little chamber to respond. With a playful wink, she called it a one-time gesture, warning there wouldn't be a repeat, even for someone she found cute. Sao reminded himself not to fall into her rhythm. The woman's allure was hazardous, and she hinted at offers outside of official hours. Trying to redirect, he inquired if she came from noble blood, laughing softly. Risa denied it, her response light yet revealing. The woman confessed her roots and lack of talent. All the women here, no matter how elegant, seemed commoners shaped by circumstance, not status. Sao listened as Risa talked of her aspirations, owning her own place, building her future. The man remained cautious, unsure if her charm concealed something darker. The man's thoughts drifted to her connection with Sipapan. The woman confessed his patronage aided her rise, yet denied involvement with others, avoiding suspicion. To mask his curiosity, Sao demanded more drinks, trying to keep the atmosphere light while gathering clues. Risa feigned drunkenness, offering to help her home. Sao found himself accompanying her into uncertain territory. That evening concluded in intimacy. Sao, conflicted yet disarmed, wondered if he became uncovering truths or simply being pulled deeper into her spell. Sao confronted Risa in bed, revealing he understood her mystery. The man suspected a plot tied to Sipapan, and the queen masked behind charm and smiles. Risa fell silent, then apologized. The man's guess that she rose to top rank thanks to Sipapan's favor seemed painfully accurate based on her expression, although reluctant. Risa couldn't deny the weight of his words. Sao urged her to share the reality, refusing to accept silence. Rather than scold, he encouraged her to follow her dreams honorably, without deception. The man's sincerity made her hesitate. Asking briefly to dress, Risa readied to reveal everything she had kept hidden. Despite his hesitation, Sao braced himself. It hurt to push Risa, but his mission departed no chamber for sympathy. To his shock, the queen emerged in person. The woman's sudden entrance shattered the tension, leaving Sao speechless. Zone's closer look, however, unveiled the reality. It wasn't the queen, but Risa in disguise. The woman confessed to imitating her, still reeling. Sao demanded an explanation. Risa, dressed as royalty, confessed her actions seemed tied to a deeper motive. With a solemn expression, she unveiled the reality. Sipapan became in love with the queen, and everything had been for her sake. One surprising revelation strikes the investigator. One of the suspects remains profoundly infatuated with the queen, trying to focus on solving an assassination attempt. The investigator remains instead bombarded with bizarre details of the man's personal fantasies. The man's confusion deepens as he watches the act. The suspect lies down, resting his head softly on the woman's lap, requesting nothing more than a lap pillow. Despite the oddity, the experience proves oddly soothing. That investigator starts to understand the appeal of being pampered by someone dressed as a queen. As he touches the fabric, he's startled to learn the elaborate dress became handmade. That reality emerges. The nobleman's profession is that of a seamstress, and peculiar and frowned upon role for someone of his status. Despite the ridicule, his tears reveal the emotional weight he carries. Kneeling before the woman he admires, he expresses his loyalty. Even with his stern exterior, vulnerability surfaces in her presence. The woman sees herself in his pain, both marginalized by roles society never valued. The woman understands his longing for recognition. With the mystery exposed, they ponder the consequences. Though forgiveness may be unlikely, there is hope the queen's mercy might grant them reprieve. Despite his original goal of uncovering an affair, the investigator remains confronted with deeper questions. Walking back under the harsh sunlight, he feels more lost than fulfilled. What he uncovered wasn't infidelity, but a man's vulnerable reality. Driven by uncertainty, he visits the nobleman's residence that evening. One decision to seek answers firsthand solidifies in his thoughts, greeted by the wife. He introduces himself as a pupil. The woman's kind demeanor contrasts with the secrecy surrounding her husband. Face to face, the nobleman denies any connection. The man's cold reception hints at deeper wounds, while the investigator silently braces for what lies beneath. That investigator steps forward, requesting a private discussion about the queen's dress. With a dismissive tone, the nobleman pushes his wife aside. The man's harsh language surprises the guest, revealing a lack of concern for her feelings. As they speak, tensions rise. That investigator reveals that the queen herself ordered the investigation. Although his concern feels increasingly personal, the man finally discloses the reality. He was sent to determine if the nobleman intended to assassinate the queen. That chamber falls silent. Enraged, the nobleman deflects blame. Accusations fly as he refuses to believe Her Highness suspects him. That investigator presents two reasons for his suspicions. First, that the nobleman aspires to kingship. And second, that a captured assassin implicated the noble faction. The man accuses the queen of misunderstanding those devoted to traditional values, masking his unease with wine. Memories from childhood surface at age 7. He became assigned the role of seamstress. From that day, his father never recognized him again. The woman's genuine admiration lit a spark in the youth's spirit, something he never received at home. To him, she became everything. The woman observed him when no one else did, and in her presence, he finally sensed seen. Furious. The nobleman lashes out. That idea that the queen values commoners enrages him, shaking the foundation of his pride. As emotions erupt, the investigator strikes back with harsh truths. The man exposes the nobleman's jealousy, revealing a past filled with twisted admiration and resentment. The nobleman protests the investigator's rise, incapable of accept that power not lineage earned him recognition. That investigator pushes back, insisting that the nobleman's craftsmanship remains worthy. The man challenges the idea that status defines worth. With memories of unusual projects and exhausting work, he reflects on the real value of creation effort, not origin, defines greatness. That investigator's tone rises. The man urges the nobleman to stop wasting his talents and show the world what he's capable of. Hiding behind his wine glass, the nobleman admits the reality he, too, wants to prove himself. But despair holds long dulled his wood. Slouched and defeated, he asks if the investigator would report this to the queen. One plain yes remains his answer. But the tone softens. That investigator promises to speak of the nobleman's loyalty, not accusations. His respect would be conveyed, not suspicion. Though pride protests, tears betray him. The man's wife apologizes silently, but forgiveness already hangs in the air. Unspoken but understood, having overheard everything, finally speaks up. With trembling words, she defends him, insisting he's not capable of evil and remains kind at spirit. The woman confesses she's always known about the hidden dress and his mystery visits. Yet regardless of the shame, she never judged him. Though his pride trapped him in noble expectations, she understood his suffering. Silent for too long, she finally shares her burden. Tears well up as she watches her husband break. The man's pain overwhelms them both. The woman longs to ease his sorrow, even if she can never replace the queen in his spirit. That investigator questions why the wife compares herself to the queen. The woman's self-doubt becomes apparent, rooted in years of silent comparison and inadequacy. Flustered, he swiftly reassures her. The woman's own kindness and warmth are admirable too. She possesses charms she doesn't recognize herself. With sincerity, he offers to share what he's learned. Molded by the nurturing care of his own mother, encouraged by his words, she starts to accept the idea. Perhaps there remains still a way to reach her husband's spirit together. They begin a peculiar lesson, not for transformation, but to help her bring comfort to the man she still loves. For the first time, the nobleman's wife stands exposed before another man. Embarrassed, she admits no one but her husband holds seen her like this. Despite his concern, she insists on continuing. The woman's resolve grows stronger, unwilling to retreat from the instant. Determined, she makes a daring request. The woman wants to change, to be transformed into someone who can support the man she loves. With her plea agreed to, the lesson starts without delay.